Naruto God Level System, Chapter 901 to 920. 902 Chapter. I'm really sorry to bother you to take advantage of it, Xiaolan, why don't you talk? You haven't told me, are you and Chen going on a date together? Yuanzi pushed Xiaolan and asked. Sonoko, can you stop being so 8 trigrams? Xiaolan glared at Sonoko angrily. Classmates, class is over. Judy walked in from the outside with the textbook and looked at the classroom, then scrolled the mouse button or clicked, and started to take a long picture. Judy was actually a little surprised, she often couldn't see Chen before. The fact that one came today made her a little surprised. Listening to the people in the class, as if discussing yesterday's events, Judy's eyes flashed. In fact, Bai also knows about the fact that Jin was arrested. Although I don't believe that Jin will be caught by the Japanese police, this is the truth. However, his 33 can't intervene. After all, this belongs to other people's affairs. If their BBI intervenes, it will rise to an international incident. Chen glanced at Judy, then lay down to sleep, making Judy very angry. Although her main purpose is not to teach, she is also a very responsible person. Since she is a teacher, she must teach her students well. After class, Judy said in a very awkward Japanese, Hyuga classmate. Please come to the office with me. I heard Mr. Judy's words. All the boys in the class looked at Chen with schadenfreude. It is best to teach this guy a lesson. Chen shrugged and followed Judy to the office. Oh, Mr. Judy is really unusual, it's a separate office, and it's so big. Chen pulled a chair and sat down. Judy frowned in dissatisfaction when she saw Chen's casual appearance. Student Hyuga. How can you be so casual? I didn't do anything to you, how can I be casual? Chen raised his head and looked at Judy and said. You won. Judy's face suddenly turned Yuhi up. Yo tilde. Teacher Judy's face is Yuhi. Do you have any special thoughts about my students? It's scary. Chen's face showed a look of fear. Judy couldn't help but glared at Chen fiercely, but looked at Chen's appearance. It's really easy for people to have any special thoughts about him. The thought flashed through Judy's mind, and Judy immediately threw it out. I must not have this thought. Student Hyuga, you have to listen carefully in class. You are here to learn knowledge, not to mess around. Judy took out her teacher's identity, and he Chen taught and said, I am sorry, Teacher Judy, in fact. I'm here, the cup is really just a mess. Chen said to Judy. Judy really wants to say that dead wood cannot be carved. If there is nothing else, then I will leave the student first. Chen stood up and walked outside. Wait, classmate Hyuga, I have something to say to you. When Chen was about to leave, Judy suddenly stopped Chen and said to Chen. Oh, I don't know if Teacher Judy has any questions to ask me. If you have something to say, I can face the beautiful Teacher Judy. I will definitely know everything. Chen turned around and looked at Judy up and down, and the light seemed to be able to look at Judy's whole body. Judy was very embarrassed. Under Chen's eyes, she didn't seem to have any secrets at all. It made Judy very uncomfortable, and she felt a shyness in her heart. Hey, what are you hurting? Do you have any thoughts on me? I knew that you were coveting my handsome face, and sure enough, the boy was out of the house. Just to protect yourself. Judy couldn't help but be speechless. How could there be such a shameless person? I want to ask you, do you know this person? Judy took out a photo, which was the photo of Jin. Oh, you are talking about him. You know. Judy looked at Chen, not knowing what she was thinking. I don't know Jin. Chen waved his hand and said that he didn't know Judy and his face was expressionless. If he didn't know you, he knew he was Jin. Hyuga, I want to know who you are. I'm just an ordinary student. That's it, it's Mr. Judy. You are not an ordinary teacher. Chen's body is close to Judy, and the distance between Judy and Judy is less than 3 fingers. You can clearly smell the fragrance from Judy's body. And Judy can also smell the masculine breath on Chen's body, and she can't help it. Confused, her body involuntarily approached Chen, she lay down on Chen's body all of a sudden. It's not my fault, it was you who fell on me, You have to be responsible for me. Chen bowed his head and said in Judy's ear. Judy's body trembled and felt itchy in her ears. The strength on her body seemed to be lost all of a sudden, as if some magic. You get rid of me. Judy shyly said to Chen. What are you doing? The office's eye was suddenly opened. And the little Izumi Yuhiko came in and asked us. Judy suddenly panicked. She wanted to stand up in a hurry, but this time, the strength seems to have disappeared. It doesn't need strength at all. Don't blame me, she gave me her arms. Chen said immediately. Little Izumi Yuhiko was expressionless and said coldly. Then can you let go of her waist first? Oh, Chen immediately retracted her hand. At this time, Judy couldn't help but glared at Chen with shame and anger. No wonder she couldn't get up. It turned out that she was hugged by her waist, but why didn't she feel it? Mr. Judy, you are a teacher, don't do anything out of the ordinary. Little Izumi Yuhiko looked at Judy expressionlessly and said that Judy was even more annoyed, and gave Chen a Byakugan again, and Chen completely regarded it as nothing. Looking at Chen's dead pig who is not afraid of boiling water, Judy suddenly I feel more angry. What are you doing here? Let's go. Little Izumi Yuhiko took Chen's hand. Then went out. Chadi was a little messy and her thoughts fell into chaos. However, Judy recovered quickly on 5.1 and fell into deep thought. She was interrupted before and made her forget one thing. This Hyuga Chen actually knows Jin. So will he really have something to do with the black organization? To be honest, Judy really doesn't want Chen to have a relationship with the black organization. In the corridor outside, Chen turned to little Izumi Yuhizi asked, why are you here suddenly, Yuhizi? If I don't come, your advantage will take more, right? I'm really sorry for bothering you to take advantage. There was a smell of gunpowder in the words of little Izumi Yuhiko. Yeah, I could continue to take advantage of it, but this time it was destroyed by you. By the way, Judy's figure is still pretty good. Chen said with a smile. I was close to my body before, so Chen could feel Judy's figure. Is my figure bad? Little Izumi Yuhiko stared at Chen with a nuclear good look, inexplicably a little bit horror. Chapter 103. It's too soon. Chen, you're back. Teacher Judy didn't embarrass you, right? Shaolin asked Chen. Where can I embarrass him? People are very enthusiastic. Xiao Izumi Yuhiko looked at Chen sneeringly. Seeing Izumi Yuhiko like this, Shaolin and Sonoko looked at each other, a little confused. By the way, I know that a new coffee shop has opened nearby. I heard that the taste is very good. Let's go there and taste the coffee, Yuanzi said. I'm not interested in coffee. Chen shook his head, he didn't like drinking coffee. Go ahead, although it's a coffee shop. But there are other things. Sonoko said, hugging Chen's arm. Indeed, it is impossible for a coffee shop to make money entirely from coffee. Other beverages and desserts are available in coffee shops. After school, under the force of Sonoko, Chen and the others headed to this newly opened coffee shop. Mr. Judy, what are you doing with us? Little Izumi Yuhiko turned around and asked Judy who was walking behind. Oh, I went there to drink coffee. My friend opened a coffee shop. I'll go there to cheer. Judy said with a smile, and at the same time glanced at Chen with astringency in her eyes. There is also anger. Chen shrugged. Then she completely ignored Judy's eyes. But this coffee shop is opened by Judy's friend, which is really interesting. Don't Chen still know what Chetty's identity is? It seems that her friend one should be from by L_. It turns out that it is Mr. Judy. My friend opened it, so I must visit more in the future. Yuanzi jumped up and said, and soon came to this coffee shop. The layout of this coffee shop is very good, and a lot of effort was spent on decoration. That's what coffee shops are today. If you don't make a lot of effort to decorate, no one will come. The first impression is very important, but their purpose should not be to run a coffee shop, but to be equivalent to two bases. After all, this is not their country. Be careful doing things here or you will be sent back if your identity is discovered. Chen, what would you like to drink? Sonoko sat down and asked Chen. Bring me a cup of milk tea. Okay. Sonoko ordered a cup of Anko milk tea, and then she Xiaolan and Xiao Izumi Yuhiko ordered coffee. Dear classmates, do you mind if the teacher sits with you? Judy came over and asked. Of course I don't mind, Mr. Judy, a poor girl, to sit with us. It's my honor, Chen said with a smile. The little Izumi Yuhiko, who was sitting opposite Chen, gave Chen a slight kick, and then said, I want a strawberry cake. Bring me a pudding, Xiaolan shouted. The desserts here taste good, but the milk tea is just so-so. I don't know how the coffee Xiaolan and the others drink. Anyway, Shifa Coffee is not interested. Speaking of Judy's foster teacher, didn't you say that this store was opened by your friend? Where's your friend? Chen turned to look at Moody, who was eating cake, and asked. Oh, he's not here. Judy raised her head and said with a slight smile, a jingle bell. Hearing the sound of the phone, Chen took out the phone and answered the call. It's already very late. Where did you go? Are you still coming back for dinner? Xiao Jing asked coldly. A black line appeared on Chen's forehead. What did he say? I'm with the beauty now. I won't go, you guys should eat first. After Chen finished speaking, he hung up the phone. At home, Xiao Ai showed the same expression on her face, and when she heard that Chen was accompanying the beauty, Xiao Ai felt uncomfortable. Xiao Ai, is Chen not coming back? Mingmei asked Xiao Ai. I won't come back, he's dead. Xiao Ai threw the phone aside and lay on the sofa and said. Later, Chen and Izumi Yuhiko returned home, and after returning, everyone stared at the two of them with strange eyes. Are you two going on a date? Mawako asked Chen and little Izumi Yuhiko. Someone can't walk when he sees his beautiful teacher. Little Izumi Yuhiko glanced at Chen and said. Chen is speechless, this is too exaggerated, there is nothing at all. But when Xiao Ai heard it, she looked at Chen with contempt, and said coldly, What did you say, Xiao Ai? Approached Xiao Jing and asked. Xiao Ai is saying that you are a scum. Yuchizi poked Chen with her hand. Then he said, Come with me, both of you. I will teach you two a good lesson this time. I don't know how Chen will teach them a lesson, so I won't have sex directly. Belmod had a chuckle on his face. After more than a few minutes, Yukiko and Xiao Ai came out and limped, which made Belmod obviously stunned for a moment. She was just joking just now. Could it be true now? Is she really being slapped? But is this too fast? Besides, Wei Yuanai is so young, he can actually start, he is really a beast. Why are you so fast? Belmod couldn't help but blurt it out. Chen came out of the room. His face suddenly darkened. What is this called? Am I in a hurry? You know it yourself, and I will let you experience it tonight. Chen said fiercely. Okay, then you can come. Belmod gave Chen a charming smile, and said that Belmod is really 65 and is not afraid of death. It doesn't matter, he insisted that Belmod call him dad today. Damn bastard. Yukiko covered her back. Just now, the two of them were caught and spanked, and they were both swollen. Now they don't dare to sit down and sleep at night. Probably going to sleep on his stomach. This is not the most important thing, it's mainly shameful. Xiao Ai is now gnashing Kiba's teeth. If possible, Xiao Ai really wants to bite Shang Chen in one bite. Xiao Ai's eyes are so sure, aren't you convinced? Chen walked over to Xiao Ai, squatted down and put a hand on Xiao Ai's head. Xiao Ai looked at Chen stubbornly, and wanted to make her yield. She simply, it's impossible, I'm just not convinced. Looks like I still need some education. Chen stood up with a gesture. Wait, Xiao Ai shouted quickly. She didn't want to be spanked anymore, because it was still hurting. Looking at Xiao Ai's aggrieved appearance, Chen smiled, then lowered his head and kissed Xiao Ai's face. Xiao Ai's cheeks swished and Yuhi moistened, and she looked around and saw that they were all looking at her. Xiao Ai couldn't help covering her cheeks shyly. Pervert. Leaving these two words, the shy Xiao Ai ran to her room. Chen smiled lightly, seeing that this charming queen is shy, it's really not easy. Chapter 104. Horror Paradise. Yuanzi, why did you invite us to play here? Xiaolin complained to Yuanzi. What's wrong with playing in this place? I feel very exciting, this is a newly opened paradise. Yuanzi said with a smile. Yuanzi, don't you know that Xiaolin is very afraid of ghosts? She even brought her to the horror paradise. Do you want Xiaolin to fall asleep? Chen said. Although Xiaolin's force value exploded. But he is not too brave, especially for things like ghosts. He has absolutely no resistance at all. Come on, let's go in and play. Yuanzi pushed Xiaolin in. In addition to Chen, Xiaolin and Sonoko, Mori Kogoro and Conan also followed, and Mori Kogoro couldn't help but lose his hair when he saw this horror paradise. I heard that people were scared to death here, isn't it straight? Chen asked Yuanzi. It's just a rumor. In fact, it didn't frighten anyone to death, otherwise the place would have been closed long ago. Yuan Ziong shook his head and said. Scared people just boo. It is used to attract people. Many people have heard of scaring people, and they all came here curiously. In fact, if it is really scary, I'm afraid this place will be closed. But it's really scary here. I also saw the post on Yin. I came here, Sonoko said. After entering this horror paradise, Chen and the others felt a gloomy and terrifying aura. Let's go, don't go in. Xiaolan suddenly backed away and didn't dare to go in at all. What's there to be afraid of? In fact, it's not scary at all. It's all fake. In fact, it's all to scare ourselves. We've all come, so we can't go back directly. Kuzu Sonoko said so. In addition, Sonoko was pulling. Xiaolin had no choice but to follow and walk in. Mori Kogoro stopped at the door. I think I should take a look at the door. There is absolutely no meaning in it. Mori Kogoro squatted at the door and said one. Going to the door, Mori Kogoro suddenly persuaded. Dare not go in. Conan couldn't help but glance at Mori Kogoro. Royal boy, what kind of eyes do you have? Mori Kogoro also noticed the contempt in Conan's eyes, and his eyes suddenly became a little terrifying. It doesn't mean anything, I'll go first. Conan smiled embarrassingly, and then immediately ran to the man inside. Kogoro Mori really did something to him. Conan didn't want to be beaten, so he quickly ran away. Conan ran very fast, and saw Conan running into the paradise internally. Mori Kogoro didn't chase him either, and he would go after him after he came out. Conan didn't know yet. Mori Kogoro had already made up his mind and decided to take care of him. If he knew, he would definitely be very hard inside. Conan, Dad, 2 inches Xiaolan asked Conan when she saw that only Conan was running to talk. Oh, Uncle, he was afraid, so I squatted at the door and didn't dare to come in. Xiaolan was speechless. I thought it was okay for her to be timid, but I didn't expect that her father was not too timid, even smaller than hers. She didn't dare to come in. It seems that her timidity is partly due to heredity. Where do we go to play first? Let's not go to the haunted house first. Yuanzi pushed Xiaolin and asked one. Of course, the most famous place here is the electric house, as well as the horror movie theater. This. Xiaolan looked at the door of the haunted house and backed away. Don't worry. In fact, the ones inside are all fake, all pretending to be straight people, or the props used directly are not scary at all. Chen said to Xiaolin. Say so. Wouldn't Xiaolin not be afraid? But Xiaolin would still be afraid in her heart. And the fear has not diminished at all. When you come here, you can't do nothing without playing. Chen took Xiaolin's hand and walked towards the haunted house. Conan, who followed behind, saw Chen holding Xiaolin's hand. With envy and jealousy on his face, Xiaolier wanted to give Chen to take Sibagui Yuanzi and stretched out his hand, grabbed Chen's other hand, and the three walked into the haunted house. Only Conan was messed up in the wind. Why, he seems to be forgotten. Xiaolan, if you encounter ghosts or something here, don't do anything. After entering, Sonoko said to Xiaolan, who was shaking. Xiaolan is a karate champion. If Xiaolan was allowed to do it, she would definitely kill someone. I know. There was a trembling in Xiaolan's voice. Her body was constantly approaching Chen's body. Chen was more comfortable, and the two women kept leaning on him. Could he be upset? Conan followed him, exuding radiance all over his body. Resentment. Conan seems to be overwhelmed by resentment at this time, and his heart is full of resentment. Those who don't know, I am afraid that Conan is a resentful actor. Is there still a lot of people here? Chen looked at the crowd and said. 2 inches, some people feel less afraid. Xiaolin breathed a sigh of relief. If there are many people. The fear in my heart has also disappeared a lot. I just entered the haunted house and I still can't feel the horror, which seems to give people a buffer. Continuing to move forward, the surroundings changed abruptly, and the surrounding walls turned into a bloody terrifying color. Yuanzi, did you smell equals blood? Shaolin touched Yuanzi and asked Yuanzi. I smelled it too, but it's just caused by props, don't be afraid. Although Sonoko is not too timid, she kept telling herself that everything here is fake, so she's not so afraid. There is no change on Chen's face. To be honest, this little haunted house is really trivial, not to mention that everything here is fake. Even if it is true, it can't make Chen blink. On the way, Chen and the others encountered a lot. The terrifying villains and ghosts. Most of them are dummies, and some of them are pretending to be. The money is good, Xiaolan still couldn't hold back. She was scared and used karate. Fortunately, all the fights were props. The guy was hit by Xiaolan. Finally out of this haunted house, Xiaolan is like the sun. It's like seeing each other again. It's really scary inside. Xiaolan, don't you often see those crime scenes? I thought your courage should have been tempered a lot. Sonoko said with a smile. The crime scene is different from this one. Xiaolan said. At least at the scene of the crime, you would never think of ghosts or anything, but here is different. Chen, don't you feel a little scared? I feel very scared. It doesn't feel anything, it's a normal place. Chen shrugged and said. Then Sonoko looked at Conan, who was following behind him. The boy's face was actually the same. He didn't look scared at all. Today's children are so courageous. Chapter 105. Should we leave here? Shaolin hesitated and said. This horror park is so scary, I really don't know why it is open. I haven't had enough, let's go to the cinema next door to watch a movie. Garden, refers to the horror cinema not far away. Chen looked at Yuanzi's high spirits, not only shook his head, but Yuanzi's courage grew. Yuanzi, aren't you afraid? This cinema is all showing horror movies. I remember you used to be afraid of watching horror movies. Shaolin looked at Yuanzi strangely. Sonoko didn't speak, but instead let out a weird smile. Of course she was scared. But she also had other thoughts in her mind when she was really scared. She could take the opportunity to throw herself into Chen's arms to seek comfort. Thinking of this, Sonoko even suppressed the fear in her heart. Sonoko, why are you making such a slutty laughter? Little Lan Chiffon, a friend, was speechless. Is Sonoko's head frightened? Chen also doesn't understand Sonoko's brain circuit, but now Sonoko's laughter is really like a slut. The 3/8 Sonoko is thinking of a man, right? Conan whispered. I'm fine, let's go to the movies quickly. Sonoko's expression became serious. Before Xiaolan could finish her words, Sonoko held her hand and headed to a horror movie theater not far away. After entering this hot horror movie theater, Xiaolan shuddered. It was very strange inside. It was already scary to watch horror movies, but there are still very realistic monster dolls around. It makes people uncomfortable, and those dolls look like the real thing. In addition, it was extremely dark in the cinema, and Xiaolan became more and more afraid in her heart. Sonoko, look, there's a rag doll over there. Xiaolan patted the garden and pointed to the rag dolls in front of her. It's just a rag doll, what's the fuss about? Sonoko Moonlight looked over, and was suddenly startled. This doll is very weird. When looking at the rag doll, the eyes of the rag doll seem to be looking at you. On the face of the mooncloth doll, there is a strange smile, a bit hideous, and a bit evil. Why is this rag doll so scary? I want to throw away the rag doll in my house BHFD. Sonoko ____ said horribly. This is a rag doll used to make the atmosphere. Chen Shang the rag doll glanced. If you're really scared, it's fine if you don't see it. Chen said to Yuanzi and Shaolin. Straight is terrible. Sonoko lay on Chen's arms. A terrified expression appeared on his face. Shaolin looked at Yuanzi who was lying in Chen's arms, and felt a little jealous in her heart. Yuhi's face turned Yuhi's face, and then she lay on Chen's side just like Yuanzi. Yufu, it seems that Sonoko is right to insist on coming here. Chen heart feels dark and refreshed. Some people feel good, but some people feel unhappy in their hearts. Conan, who is sitting in the back and being ignored, is very unchanged at this time. Damn Hugichin, why doesn't this guy die? Conan hated Hugichin to death at this time, wishing that something happened to Hugichin and died unexpectedly. Conan is the god of death. Is madly cursing Chen. After a while, the movie starts playing. It is indeed a horror movie. This is a horror paradise, and it is impossible to play a love movie. Shaolin and Yuanzi were very frightened. Chen did not feel the slightest bit. Why does it feel like there is a bloody smell? Could it be intentional, to add to the atmosphere? Conan was extremely upset. Smelling a bloody smell in the air equals the movie came to an end soon after less than 2 hours. The two beauties were lying on Chen's body, and there was a constant smell of fragrance. Chen felt very cool. Of course, if there is no bloody smell coming from behind. Should be cooler. Shaolin, Yuanzi, you two should go out with your eyes closed. Chen said to Shaolin and Yuanzi, why? The two of them looked at Chen in confusion and asked. Because of death. It seems that there are many things with Conan following. This bloody smell is real, and someone really died behind. Ah, Shaolin couldn't help exclaiming, then looked behind her. Because the cinema was extremely dark, she couldn't see anything clearly, but Chen's words. Shaolin wouldn't believe it. What are you doing? Sonoko shuddered and looked like she wanted to cry. If it was a human, it would be fine. I'm afraid it wasn't a case of human beings. Conan, who was behind, heard that Chen said he was dead, and ran away immediately. I went to the back to check. On the back wall, I saw a man leaning against the wall with his eyes wide open. There was a blood-stained knife stuck in his heart, and the blood continued to flow out followed by the cinema. The lights inside turned on, and the people who were about to go out turned their heads and saw this corpse with wide eyes. I was very frightened when I watched a horror movie, but after watching it, they turned their heads and saw a corpse. Extraordinarily scary. Conan took out his phone. Call the police immediately. When he saw someone going out, Conan immediately shouted. Wait, no one must leave this place until the police arrive. You little brat, why order us? Conan's words can't deter them at all. If there is a life case in such a place, they just want to get out quickly. Whoever goes out now is the murderer. But it's useless at all, and the person who should leave ran out. Damn, Conan bites Kiba like this. It may make the real beast run out. This little kid, get out quickly. This time it is very likely that it is a supernatural murder. It is very dangerous here. A kind-hearted person reminded Conan for 10 days. Conan scoffed. He didn't believe in supernatural killing at all. In Conan's worldview, there are no monsters and ghosts. Let's go out first, Chen said to Yuanzi and Shaolin. Well, hurry out. Shaolin and Yuanzi nodded quickly, and they must go out quickly. Who knows if Shaolin and Yuanzi will be in danger here, and they also think that there may be a supernatural murder here, or there may be some dirty things. Chen, you said here. Is there such a thing? Shaolin asked Chen, because she was afraid that ghosts really existed. Say it and let the ghosts stare. Shaolin didn't dare to say the word ghost, she could only use that kind of thing to describe it. No, there may be ghosts in this world, but it is not so simple to be born. Chen said to the two girls. Once Chen had done experiments on resentment, but it was relying on Chen's spiritual power. The resentment was born, but there is no resentment here. This is a man-made murder. 906 chapter. Confused detective, what? A murder happened. Kogoro Mori was surprised. Well, it's in the movie theater, it's scary. Shaolin still feels scared. Seeing Shaolin's fearful appearance, Mori Kogoro secretly rejoiced that he didn't go in, otherwise he didn't know if he would be frightened. It's also the fault of the eldest Miss Sonoko Suzuki for inviting them out to play. To actually come to such a place, he squatted at the door for a long time and did not dare to go in, but he was not less pointed. There's a murder here, and it seems that I need to take action, Kogoro Mori said, pinching his chin. Uncle, can you really solve the case? Sonoko didn't particularly believe in Kogoro Mori. Although Kogoro Mori has solved a lot of cases recently, he has become a famous detective. But Sonoko didn't forget the trash image of Kogoro Mori before. I remember when Kogoro Mori was not famous at all. It's very difficult to connect cases. I just don't know why, but now I suddenly rise up and become a famous detective too. Don't believe me, I'm a sleeping famous detective, Kogoro Mori. Mori Kogoro has a dissatisfied face. Having recently become a celebrity, Mori Kogoro has a high spirit in his heart. In his opinion, there is no case that he cannot solve. Not even Sherlock Holmes can compare to him. Take me over there. I broke the case. The Metropolitan Police Department will definitely give me a bonus. Mori Kogoro's eyes turned into the shape of money. Helping the Metropolitan Police Department solve the case, there will definitely be rewards. Just now, I have no money to drink, so this time I will make a little extra money. Chen, do you think my father can really do it? Have you solved the case? Shaolin pulled Locken and asked, who knows, let's see what he is capable of. Chen shrugged. If it was just Kogoro Mori himself, it goes without saying that the real murderer would definitely not be found. Conan's words, it's not necessarily. Why is it so gloomy here? Mori Kogoro shivered and backed off a bit. It was a little scary inside. Uncle Maori, I think you should go out. Sonoko looked at Mori Kogoro speechlessly. Shaolin also felt a little embarrassed. She shivered as soon as she walked in. She was not as brave as her. No, I still want a bonus. Mori Kogoro shook his head firmly. He had no money left in his hand. In fact, all the money was asked by Shaolin to keep it. Because every time Mori Kogoro couldn't save the money, it was too late to spend it. He has too much hands, often buys drinks and bets on horses. So Quan Shaolin will take the money away. Only give Mori Kogoro some pocket money, so that he has no money to drink. Yes, Conan, the bastard. What? Why didn't you see him? Sonoko looked around. Then he asked suspiciously. Shaolin looked around and saw that there was no trace of Conan, so Shaoli was a little panicked. The kid Conan didn't come out at all, I guess it's still in the movie theater. Chen said to Shaolin and Sonoko. Although they didn't pay attention to Conan, but Chen did. The guy didn't come out at all. It is estimated that he is investigating clues now. When he came to the door of the screening hall, the staff of this paradise had already entered. Now, there are still a lot of people around the door. Taijia let it go. I'm Kogoro Mori, and I'm here to investigate. Mori Kogoro shouted as, it turned out to be Mori Kogoro, who is actually a famous detective. I saw a famous detective today. Mori detective, can you give me an autograph? I'm a fan of your reasoning. I'm also a fan of Maori detectives, can you give me an autograph? They always admired Maori detectives. Seeing that he has so many fans, Mori Kogoro doesn't even care about solving the case. He laughed and signed autographs for his fans. Shaolan, I think your father is very unreliable. Sonoko leaned into Shaolin's ear and said. Shaolin looked helpless and wanted to remind Mori Kogoro, but Mori Kogoro was surrounded and she couldn't get through at all. Forget it. Let's go first. Chen said to them. Do you still want to go in? Shaolin looked at the door of the deep projection hall and felt a little white. And looking in from here, she felt like a giant beast with too much mouth. Swallow the person in one bite. Then don't go in. Chen pulled Shaolin and Sonoko. He came to the chair next to him and sat down for a while. Officer Mew came with someone, and Sato Mawako also came with flowers. Mori, what are you doing? Is there an autograph meeting? And why are you here too? Officer Yimu asked Mori Kogoro. Ha ha ha, Officer Mumu, of course the case is calling for my name, Detective Kogoro Mori. Mori Kogoro said triumphantly, and the Toon police officer is very speechless, and there is such a brazen person. Although Mori Kogoro solved a lot of cases, but he didn't know how to solve the case afterwards, so he just put the case in a daze. The case is solved. I don't even understand it myself, so I'm obviously a confused detective. And the Toon police officer led people to disperse everyone, so that they don't surround this place. Let's go and see, the case is actually it's weird to happen in a place like this. And the Toon officer rubbed his hands. That's right. Who was the person who called the police before? And the tomb police officer asked Takagi. The person who called the police did not reveal his name, but the voice was a child. Takagi shook his head lightly. Officer Yimu, it's me who called the police. Conan came out of it. Conan, it turns out that you were the one who called the police. Officer Yimu wasn't too surprised when he saw Conan. It's not surprising that Kogoro Mori is here and Conan is here. Then, Conan, you are the scene of the crime. The first striker. That's right. Conan nodded lightly. Anyway, after the deceased died, Conan was the first to run over to investigate. Children, aren't you afraid of being alone in there? Sato Mawako looked at Conan and said. Sato Mawako also knows Conan's true identity, and knows that Conan is actually Kudo Shinichi. This Chen has told Mawako. Ah, I'm naturally more courageous. Conan said with a ha-ha, but looking at Sato Mawako's different eyes, Conan was still a little scared. Besides, Officer Mew didn't have any doubts about Conan's courage. Conan dared to approach the crime scene, and it was not once or twice. So in the heart of Police Officer Kiyomu, Conan's courage is too much, more courage than their adults, and you is still very smart for a long time. Conan, you have been here, are you sure no one has destroyed the crime scene? The recruiting police officer asked Conan. Well, Conan was very sure that after everyone left, he was the only one left in the entire theater. Very good. Brother Maori, let's go in. Officer Kijay called out to Kogoro Maori. Although I think Mori Kogoro is very unreliable, but in case Mori Kogoro solves the case in a daze again. After entering the theater. In addition, Officer Mew and Kogoro Maori couldn't help shaking. This place was so terrifying. The staff at the cinema also walked in, and the people watching the movie together in the screening hall were also called over. After all, anyone who stays here is likely to be a murderer. You won't suspect that we are murderers, right? Lulu too, yeah, what's the matter with you? I see it as a supernatural murder. No, I'm leaving this as a dangerous place. Too many people think this incident is a supernatural murder. Because the atmosphere here is kind of weird. There aren't many people who come here to watch the movie. Officer Yimu counted the audience of the movie. Even with Chen and the others, there were only 15 people. The staff of this theater equals a total of 4 total, and only 20 people bring the dead. In addition, the police officer Mew is not superstitious about ghosts and ghosts, he thinks it is a man-made event. After all, in his case-solving career, it is not that he has not encountered a case of deliberately pretending to be a ghost to kill. Officer Takagi, first investigate the identity of the deceased, and collect clues from the surroundings. Officer Moongrave said to Takagi. Yes. Takagi immediately began to act to investigate the identity of the deceased, and at the same time, he was collecting clues to investigate the real cause of death of the deceased. Officer, are we waiting here as long as it's not over? We don't have that much time to waste. Some people have already started to get emotional. They can't be one. Cooperate with the investigation all the time, and the tomb police officer also. I am very worried. What if there are any clues on these people? What if the murderer is among these people and takes out important evidence and destroys it? But if they are allowed to stay here and cooperate with the investigation, they will definitely the dissatisfaction caused by these people. Not everyone has time to spend with them. Conan also frowned, although he has been here for a long time, but he has not found the slightest evidence. The murderer is neat, and there is nothing useful left. However, Conan believes that there is absolutely no perfect crime, and there must be important clues and evidence. Chen pulled Shaolin and Sonoko to sit down, and Mawako stopped investigating the case and sat beside Chen. Really, how could we encounter such a thing, and finally came out to play, and the result is too bad. Sonoko said depressedly. Don't be depressed, just treat it as a seasoning for playing. Chen said to Sonoko, with Conan here, how could something not happen? Brother Mori, do you have any clues? With his hair on, he didn't know what clues. No, I didn't get any clues. Even Conan frowned in worry. Of course, Kogoro Mori had no clues. Officer Mumu, wouldn't you investigate the surveillance? There is surveillance here. Chen reminded them speechlessly. The surveillance cameras are there, didn't they find it? Yes. Officer Chimu patted his head and suddenly thought of the existence of surveillance cameras. Go and investigate surveillance cameras immediately. Officer Kiyamu pointed to one of them and said, Officer Kiyamu, I found out the identity of this person. His name is Akira Kimura, and he is the leader of an underground force. Takagi ran out of breath. What did you say? Is he Kimura Akira? Officer Chimu was surprised. Officer Momomu knew, and the reason for knowing it was related to Jinju. The wine was trapped by Kimura Akira. Although Jinju was finally caught, it has a great relationship with Chen, but Kimura Akira cannot escape it. Officer Chimu, this is a surveillance video. Soon a policeman brought the videotape over, and the screen police officer watched it. There may be clues to Kimura Akira's death in it. In fact, there are indeed. The murderer had no intention of hiding his identity to kill Kimura Akira. People, it's Sejiu. I guess it's for revenge. Jinju's revenge is quite strong. In the surveillance video, Jinju showed a stern smile at the head of the camera after killing Akira Kimura neatly. This seems to be provocation, which makes the tomb police officer a little angry. Damn criminal, he dares to provoke after he escaped. I will definitely catch him and bring him to justice. Officer Mumu said angrily, but he also understood that Jinju seemed to be a member of a huge organization. He was not at a low level in that organization, so it was definitely not easy to catch. The last time I caught Jinju, the liquor was solved by Mikazu Sato, but in the end, Jin was rescued. Of course, Jin was rescued. It had nothing to do with the Metropolitan Police Department, and it was no longer under the control of the 3rd Metropolitan Police Department at that time. So they don't have to take responsibility either. Conan's face turned solemn. He never thought that Sejiu would come here and kill someone in this theater, but he didn't find it really annoyed. Okay, we have already found the murderer, so please cooperate with me this time. Don't worry, this time is nothing magical. Officer Kimu opened his mouth to reassure them. These people thought it was a supernatural event, but Officer Kimu had to explain it. Now we can't spread superstitions. It's better to explain things that can cause too much fear. It's better than 43. That police officer, there are dead people here. It won't affect us here, right? The person in charge of Horror Paradise arrived here at this time and asked Officer Yuge anxiously. If it affects this place, it will be sealed. It will be bad for them. They are also counting on this to make money. Don't worry, this time has nothing to do with your paradise. We don't do anything casually. Officer Chimu patted the man on the shoulder and said, That's a big thank you. The person in charge said with great surprise. I still don't know who the culprit is. Sonoko was a little depressed. Knowing so much to do, knowing more is not good. Chen said softly. In fact, Chen knew that Sejiu was the murderer's one Jin, and Chen had already keenly sensed it. Chapter 900. Sejo's purpose. Oh, a bonus just left me. Kogoro Mori looked sad when he left. The murderer was not investigated by him. And the police officer Yamu also told him to leave it alone. Tell him to deal with the wicked. It's gone. This vacation seems to be gone. I haven't had enough. Sonoko complained. Because of a murder. Although it has nothing to do with Horror Paradise decided to take a day off. Shaolin was relieved. In fact, she didn't want to stay in that place at all. If it wasn't for Yuanzi, she would have left long ago. By the way, are you going to play at my house? To hold a banquet, Yuanzi said suddenly. What? To hold a banquet? Is there any good wine? Kogoro Mori's ears are very sensitive. Of course, not anymore, Sonoko said, spreading his hands. Cut, it made me happy for nothing. Mori Kogoro immediately lost interest. 17. A banquet without wine is not a good banquet. Chen, Shaolin, do you want to go together? Yuanzi asked Chen and Shaolin. Shaolin looked at Chen. If Chen went to Yuanzi's house, of course Shaolin would also go. Okay, there's nothing to do when I go back anyway. Chen nodded lightly towards Yuanzi. You go, I won't follow you. Why don't you go back and drink? Mori Kogoro said listlessly. Mori Kogoro is gone. Only Chen, Shaolin and Sonoko are left. Oh yes. And there's Conan, Who's working as a light bulb here? Conan, why didn't you leave with Uncle Mori? Sonoko looked at Conan and was a little reluctant to take him. Of course Conan refused to leave unless Xiaolan also followed him. He had to be wary of what Hyuga Chen did to Xiaolan. He followed Sonoko and came to her house. Sonoko's parents were not at home, nor was her sister at home. There were only housekeepers and babysitters in the house. Yuanzi, your home is really big. Xiaolan said. This is still Xiaolan. The first time I came to the garden's house. Although it's big, it's very empty. There aren't many people in the house. Yuanzi said depressedly, although she is the second lady of the Suzuki Foundation. But at home, she is also very lonely, and her sister is busy with her studies. While her parents were busy with the consortium, Sonoko was lonely since she was a child. Fortunately, I have Xiaolan as a good friend. Miss, are these your friends? The butler asked Sonoko. When you have time to think, yes, you can go and prepare a sumptuous dinner. Sonoko said to the housekeeper that the dinner was really very rich. Chen and the others couldn't eat it. Fosga, Sonoko, you have prepared too many things. Seven Bulan said speechlessly. Haha, Xiaolan, you are. It was my first time visiting my house, and of course I had to prepare a lot. Sonoko said with a big laugh. Don't make such a loud laugh, it will affect your image. Chen put a hand on Sonoko's head and said. Brother, that woman hasn't come yet. The vodka look is a little ugly, etc. Jin looked up at vodka lightly and then said. But brother, Absinthe is too disrespectful to you. Brother, didn't you say that Absinthe has betrayed the organization? In this case, we can't you just kill her directly. Vodka is very angry. To let his elder brother wait for such a long time is disrespect to his elder brother, so Vodka is very angry. Vodka respects his elder brother very much, and no one is allowed to disrespect his elder brother. I asked you to wait, didn't you understand what I said? Jin's eyes showed murderous intent, which made Vodka shut up instantly. Jin's eyes released murderous intent, that is to kill, but Vodka knows that Jin never will play with him. Whether he is a companion or not, as long as Jin is angry. A bullet will definitely pierce his head. After a long time, Belmod came to this bar, which is also a liaison of the Black Organization. After seeing Ormod coming, Jin suddenly clenched his fists and stared at her with two pairs of cold eyes filled with murderous intent. Belmod completely ignored Jin's murderous eyes, and since Guz sat down. Jin whined. What's your business with me? I'm very busy and I don't have time to waste with you. Belmod said lightly. Did you betray the organization? Sejiu stood up. The sharp moonlight stared at Belmod. Facing Jin's terrifying eyes, Belmod didn't have the slightest panic. His face was calm, and in the light it even revealed a faint disdain. If you don't speak, you just admit it. I didn't blame Vodka for self-assertion. All those who betrayed the organization will die. Now Jin has mastered the evidence. It can be definitively proved that Belmod is betraying the organization, but Jin did not expect that Belmod would actually dare to come here. Did you come here just to ask me this boring question? Belmod said that such a big thing as betraying the organization was a boring question, not to mention Vodka. Even Jin was full of anger. But Jin didn't show it on the face. I just betrayed the organization, what can you do? Belmod sneered at the Jin and Vodka. To be honest, to see the strength of Ormod now, even if the entire organization dispatched all efforts come to destroy her, it is definitely not her opponent. 843 Besides, she has her own man Hyuga Chen, even if she is an enemy of the world. So at this time, Belmod, but equals no face to the Black Organization. As for Sejiu, a pawn of a Black Organization uptak Belmodo's a big brother even to see equals eyes. Vodka shouted at Jin, meaning to ask what happened to Jin. In fact, if Jin knew that Belmod was a traitor according to Jin's past character, he would definitely kill Belmod with one shot. But now Jin has some concerns. He didn't dare to do anything at all. What is your relationship with him? Is it because of him that you betrayed the organization? And then after Jinju escaped, he secretly began to investigate Chen. There is some information that Chen has not hidden on the surface, Of course Jinju knows that the policewoman who brought him down has something to do with Hyuga-chen. Belmod, it has something to do with Hyuga-chen. Even the super strong Miyano Akemi, who has changed inexplicably, is also related to Hyuga-chen and lives in Hyuga-chen's house. It is because of the investigation Chen that Jin knows that Belmod is now he has already betrayed the organization, and now, in addition to seeing remodexing for inquiries, he also wants to obtain some information about Hyuga-chen. This is the purpose of Sejiu. 909th chapter. Bad me good, absinthe, as long as you tell me his information, the organization cannot pursue you. Otherwise, you will be endlessly hunted down by the organization. Jin said coldly when he saw Ahmad. Are you threatening me? Belmod's eyes became cold, as if they could freeze the surrounding air. A strong aura was released from Belmod. Jin and Vodka seemed to have come to the plateau area under Belmod's momentum, and it was difficult to breathe. Jin subconsciously held the gun and looked at Belmod with some difficulty. There is such a thing as momentum. For example, his Jin also has its own momentum, and once he gets serious, it will make people scared. But he didn't expect that one day he would have difficulty breathing when he was oppressed by others' aura. A deadly sense of crisis. And Vodka, don't look at how tall he is. But at this time, like a quail, he didn't dare to speak at all. And Guang looked carefully at Belmod and Jin. Between these two bosses, Vodka still felt that it would be better to make a little transparent. Belmod suddenly stood up. Jin suddenly became nervous, and the hand holding the gun became even tighter, as if Belmod was as terrifying as a wild beast. However, Belmod didn't pay any attention to the meaning of Jin, stood up and left here directly. After Belmod left, the Jin, who was under the pressure of the giant wife, finally broke out in cold sweat, and couldn't help but wipe the sweat with his hands. When facing Belmod just now, Jinju really felt the pressure of the strong, and he seemed to die from the oppression. Big brother, Vodka called out to Jin. Jin came back to his senses, glanced at Vodka, and said, let's go. And about that Hyuga-chen, do you still need to investigate? Vodka asked Jin, if you are not afraid of death, you can stay here. Investigate Shiel. Jin's voice was extremely cold. Let Vodka stop talking. Chen, Shaolin, don't you really want to stay for one night? Yuanzi asked Chen and Shaolin. No, I think it's better to open higher. Shaolin shook her head. All right then, pay attention to safety on the road. Yuanzi waved at Chen and Shaolin. There is another Conan, but now Conan has been ignored by Sonoko. Shaolan, let me take you home first. Chen said to Shaolan. Yeah, Shaolin nodded. Soon they came to the Maori detective office, and then Shaolin and Conan got off the bus. At this time, just when Chen was about to leave, the elementary school suddenly stopped Chen. Chen, it's already so late. Why don't you rest here for a night? Shaolin said following Yuhi's expression. Invite a guy to stay overnight. Shaolin was still embarrassed. But it happened once last time, and Shaolin wasn't too shy next to Conan. It's a complete frying pan, what? Shaolin actually wanted this guy Hyuga-chen to live here. If he really stayed for one night. Where do you live? Conan immediately felt a bad feeling in his heart. Sister Shaolin, there are no extra rooms at home. Conan interrupted quickly. Shaolin looked at Conan in shock, because she almost forgot that there was another Conan, and now Conan's sense of existence is too weak. Although we don't have a room, Chen and I can make do with it at night. Shaolan whispered. Conan really fried the pot, and a blood rushed to his heart, and there was a feeling that he wanted to hit the wall. If the two of them really make do with one night, then Shaolin has not been taken advantage of by this guy, and such a thing cannot be allowed to happen. As long as Conan thinks that Chen and Shaolin are sleeping on a chuong, even if he really doesn't do anything, Conan will have an urge to die. Okay, since Shaolin has sincerely invited you, let's stay here for one night. Chen gave Conan a playful look. Of course, after hearing Chen's words, Conan exploded directly on the spot. No, Sister Shaolin, I absolutely disagree. Conan shouted angrily. Boss, Miss Shaolin, what are you doing here? The door of the coffee shop was opened, and Mo Benzi came out, looking at Chen and Shaolin suspiciously. Before, she saw Chen's car inside, and then came out to see her unreliable boss. After seeing Mo Benzi, Xiaolan did not invite Chen to stay here. Shyly ran upstairs. The previous invitation to Chen would not have been heard by Miss Moben, right? Xiaolan ran upstairs because of the harm, which made Chen very helpless. After Conan glared at Chen angrily, he also went upstairs. What's the situation? Momoto Azusa looked puzzled. It's all about you, it's bad for me. After Chen got out of the car, he couldn't help knocking on the head of Mo Benzi, who didn't know anything. Why are you knocking me? I'm kind. It's too much to come out and see you. Mo Benzi said dissatisfiedly. I didn't let you come out to see me. Chen said angrily. By the way, boss, this is the account book for this month, and the money earned this month, I'll pass it on to you. Mo Benzi took out a small book and handed it to Chen. You don't need to transfer it to me. You can keep it for now. Chen was not interested in reading this ledger. Ah, boss, are you trying to take care of me? Mo Benzi looked at Chen with a look of anticipation. I'll take care of you as a ghost, let's go. Chen directly got into the car and left with a confused look on Mo Benzi's face. Momoto Azusa stood on the side of the road for a while, a little confused, so he went back to the store. After Chen returned home, Belmod, Mawako and the others hadn't slept yet. You haven't rested yet, Chen said as he sat down and took a sip. What you drink, Wang Jiao, is my water. Xiao Ai kicked Chen angrily with her little foot. It doesn't matter, I don't care. You don't care, but I do. Xiao Saro hummed. Didn't you go out with Xiaolin? Why did you come back? I thought you wouldn't come back tonight. Belmod said, it wasn't originally going to come back. It's a pity that it was destroyed by a confused clerk. Chen spread his hands and said. Yukiko sighed, feeling that her son, Shinichi, really has no hope at all, and she has been back for a few months now, and she hasn't seen Shinichi yet, and I don't know where he ran. Where it goes. I don't know if something really happened to him, but Yukiko didn't want to worry about it anymore. Anyway, the wings are hard, and she doesn't need to be in control. Xiao Ai heard Chen's words. There was a feeling of sourness in her heart, and then Xiao Ai, who was jealous, raised her foot and kicked Chen Yi again. Chapter 910. The Seduction of the Female Teacher. Xiao Ai, study hard when you go to school. I'll come and pick you up when you come back. Chen patted Xiao Ai's head and said it today as Chen sending Xiao Ai to school, hey. Xiao Ai opened Chen's hands, and looked at him dissatisfiedly. Xiao Ai doesn't like someone touching her head, because it makes her feel like she is a child. Did Chen treat her as a child? Yeah tilde. Xiao Ai, brother Chen sent you here. Bu after seeing Xiao Ai, Mei's eyes lit up, and then she ran towards Chen. Haihara-san, who is this? A somewhat charming voice came. Two women with good looks and a little revealing dress came over. It seemed that Xiao Ai's old and Xiao Ai frowned when they saw this woman. This woman was the teacher in her class. But Xiao Ai knew that this woman's reputation was not very good. What are you running over now? Is it for this guy? Xiao Ai raised her head and glanced at Chen, her eyes showing dissatisfaction. He's not me. Xiao Ai pushed Chen and asked Chen to click quickly. Chen also glanced at the female teacher, who was giving Chen a wink. A dark look. .150 but Chen has no interest at all. Xiao Ai, I'll go first. Come back to pick you up. Chen waved at Xiao Ai. Then turn away. Chen drove away, but the female teacher felt dissatisfied. Seeing such a handsome guy, she actually let him go away. If you can spend a spring night with this handsome guy, it would be worth dying. But it doesn't matter, since I know that Haiyuan Jing has a relationship with that handsome guy. Haihara-san, was that your brother just now? Mr. Fujimoto, why are you asking so many questions? Xiao Ai's voice was cold. This female teacher is called Fujimoto K. I heard that the parents who had seduced the students also had an unclear relationship with some male teachers in the school. Xiao Ai was a little disgusted with Fujimoto Kahui, especially this woman seemed to put the moonlight on that guy. Fujimoto Shangwei was coldly scolded by Xiao Ai. Her face was a little ugly, she was a teacher and a student. Of course, she was not happy. I just feel that there is something wrong with Haibara's homework, and I need your parents to come over. Fujimoto Kahui said lightly. These words are very lethal to ordinary students, such as Ayumi and Tanyu next to him looking at Xiao-ai. And how could Xiao-ai be afraid of such a little threat? She didn't ignore Fujimoto Shangwei at all, and directly dragged Ayumi into the school gate. Xiao-ai, is there something wrong? Fujimoto-sensei seems to be very angry. Ayumi looked at Xiao-ai worriedly. It's okay. Xiao-ai shook her head gently and Fujimoto Shangwei didn't deliberately trouble Xiao-ai, because she was still thinking of Chen, in case it was because of Xiao-ai's trouble. How to be disgusted. At noon, Xiao-ai ate at the school, and ate the bento prepared by Mingmei. And in the evening, Chen came to the school gate again to pick up Xiao-ai back. When Chen just arrived at school, I saw that the female teacher I saw in the morning is now standing with Xiao-ai. Hello, my name is Fujimoto Kahui, and I'm Xiao-ai's teacher. Fujimoto Kahui smiled and reached out to Chen. Before Chen didn't move, Xiao-ai snorted coldly, Mr. Fujimoto, since my brother has already come. You too, don't worry about my safety. Let's go. Xiao-ai took Chen's hand and looked at all he didn't look at Fujimoto Kagami. This woman is after school. He followed her stubbornly, saying that it was not safe for her to stand alone at the school gate. What was her idea in Xiao-ai's heart? Xiao-ai's heart was very clear, that little effort could not hide Xiao-ai at all. Wait, wait, Fujimoto Shangwei shouted after finally waiting for Chen to come, how could she easily let go of this opportunity? Chen is the most handsome man she has ever met. I want to visit Xiao-ai's house, BBB, may I ask? Fujimoto Kagami gave Chen a deliberate wink. In order to seduce Chen, she deliberately dressed up today, and even the clothes she wore were more revealing than when we met in the morning. It's about to go away. But Fujimoto Kahui didn't care at all, and instead deliberately disappeared in front of Chen. Obviously, she wanted to seduce Chen. However, Chen is not interested in her at all, not to mention that she dresses like a street girl. Even her appearance can only be regarded as a general look only through magic makeup, and after removing the makeup, I still don't know what the hell is. What does it look like? Sorry, it's a little inconvenient now. Chen refused without hesitation, and Chen was not surprised by Ping Xiao-ai's rejection. In Xiao-ai's view, although Chen was too perverted, but not to the point of eating everything, he definitely doesn't like this woman. Well, that's fine. Fujimoto Shangwei didn't want to be shameless. Chen drove away from Xiao-ai and sat in the co-pilot, snorting coldly. Some people are very attractive. Are they very happy in their hearts? Why don't they bring their husbands to visit? Maybe something else could happen. Who are some people in your mouth, Xiao-ai? Chen asked with a chuckle. By the way, were you jealous just now? What am I jealous? Xiao-ai wouldn't admit that she was jealous, but she was really upset just now, and she wanted to destroy that woman. After adding fuel to the story, the eyes of Belmont and the others turned to Chen. Hey, you look at me like that kind of woman. Chen took a sip of juice and said, oh, then if you say that. If you really like it, will you bring someone back? Mawako asked Chen with dangerous eyes. If it does not meet the standard, if it is one who looks as beautiful as you, maybe I have brought it back now. Chen leaned back on the sofa and said, shame, to actually say such a thing. The little Izumi Yuhiko gave Chen a contemptuous look. Chen spread his hands, and didn't feel that he had any brazenness at all. I really want to hit you. Xiao-ai bit Kiba and said, gnashing her teeth. If it was her beautiful female teacher, Chunko Kobayashi, that would mean that Chen had already brought it home. However, Kobayashi Sumiko's character can do such shameless things. Not to mention deliberately seduce. I'm telling you, that woman is dirty, you'd better stay away from that woman. Xiao-ai said to Chen. In fact, even if Xiao-ai didn't talk to Chen, he wouldn't be interested in that kind of woman. Chapter 911. Kuroba Chikage, school is about to take an exam, are you going? Little Izumi Yuhiko asked Chen, if you don't go, I won't stay at all, right? It's comfortable at home. Chen stretched his waist and said. If you don't go to school, the teacher will trouble you. Trouble me? Haven't I already arranged everything? Money can solve all problems. He spent a lot of money, and the principal directly told all the teachers to leave his business alone. English teacher Judy, little Izumi Yuhiko nibbled at the snack. Said, "Oh." Chen nodded, she probably had other purposes. Chen still knew, but ignored the woman Judy. If she's looking for trouble, she's looking for trouble. Chen Tan spread his hands and said it didn't matter at all. "Let's go, shall I? I'll take you to school." Chen has nothing to do at home, that is, he just sent Shao I to go to school, and it can be considered that he has found a job for himself. "Shao I, don't fight in school." After arriving at the school, Chen waved to Shao I and said. Shao I gave Chen Yi a byakugan angrily, and then Chen and the others met the teacher from yesterday. Before the teacher named Fujimoto Kage came over, Chen drove the car and didn't go back. Chen drove the car to the bar. Although it was too early, there was a bar that opened for 24 hours. Business. The kind of business. However, there are not many people in the bar, certainly not as many as in the evening. As soon as Chen sat down, a woman came over to chat up. "Handsome guy. Alone. Would you like to have a drink?" A very revealing woman came over. "Fuck off." Chen waved his hands angrily, wearing makeup like a ghost. Dare to run over to chat with him. I really don't know who gave this woman the courage. The woman's face was ashen, and she left with a cold snort. Drinking alone. Don't you feel lonely? Zaichen was drinking alone. Another woman came over and sat directly opposite Chen. Originally, Chen wanted to let the other party roll over, but it seemed that the other party was too beautiful, and did not belong to Belmont or Yukiko. So Chen's rolling word was not spoken out, which affected him to drink, and if it was a beautiful woman, it would be another matter. Chen is such a reality. "Shuhen, do you want to have a few drinks with the beauty?" Chen smiled and invited the woman. The woman looked at Chen deeply, smiled lightly and sat down. "What to drink?" "Whatever." The woman slacked off, revealing exquisite curves. Without saying a word, Chen asked the bartender for a few bottles of spirits. "Are you trying to get me drunk?" the woman asked towards Chen. "Yeah, women don't get drunk, men don't have a chance. By the way, beauty, my name is Hyuga Chen, what's your name?" Chen asked the woman casually. "My name is Heiyu Chenying." Hearing the name of Heiyu Chenying, a light flashed in Chen's eyes. Heiyu Chenying, very familiar, this is not Kuroba Kuito's mother, Miss Chenying, the name is very nice. Chen suddenly got closer, and stretched out his hand to embrace Kuroba Chikage's waist. Then he suddenly relaxed and leaned against Shang Chen with a charming face. The corners of Chen's mouth twitched. Although I don't know why Kuroha Chikage is stalking him, and why he is close to him, he is right that it is cheap. Before that, Chen discovered that a beautiful woman was following him. But he did not know that she is Kuroha Chikage. But she is known as a strange lady, and she is Kuroba Kuito's mother. Chen's hand began to take advantage of Heiyu Chenying's body. Although Heiyu Chenying was stiff and wanted to resist, but because of her purpose, she could only endure and let Chen take advantage. In fact, Kuroha Chikage learned from Kuroha Kato that this person was called Hyuga Chen. It is very likely that she knew the truth about Kuroba Ruichi's death. That's why she came to follow Chen on purpose and approached him by the way. He wants to investigate the cause of Kuroba Ruichi's death. Chen doesn't care what her purpose is. Anyway, I came here to get close to myself, and if I didn't take advantage of it, I would be sorry for myself. Come, have a glass of wine. Chen picked up equals glass of wine. Handed it to Kuroba Chikage. Kuroba Chikage drank it in one gulp. Zhao Zijia, although she often drinks some wine when she is free, but when has she ever drank this kind of strong flour? 0 inches HMPH, when I get the information I want, I must let you it's beautiful, I'll ask you to pay it back. Kuroba Chenying Shaoli thought angrily. If she hadn't wanted to know the cause of Kuroba Ruichi's death too much, she wouldn't have come to sell her color, and she wouldn't have suffered this crime. Chen smiled lightly and praised, Miss Chenying is really good at drinking. But do you feel a little dizzy now? With a weird smile, there was a bad feeling in her heart. It's okay to be dizzy, I've put medicine in the wine, how can I not be dizzy? Chen Tan said lightly, What? You actually drugged in the wine? A panic flashed in Heyu Chenying's eyes. Although she wanted to betray her looks, she didn't think about losing her body. She wanted to struggle to get up, but how could she be able to break free from Chen's arm? Miss Chenying, what are you doing? Let go of me, let me go. Heyu Chenying shouted coldly towards Chen. I'm just joking with you, why are you so excited? Chen let go of Heyu Chenyingtan and said. Miss Chenying didn't feel dizzy before drinking. This is actually a very normal thing. And I didn't even touch the bottle. You don't think I really took the medicine? Thinking that this man would be so bad, he actually deceived her and said that he had put medicine in it. I tell you, I'm not a random woman. Kuroba Chikage, who stood up, sat down again. It's all been taken so cheaply. If you leave now in anger, it will be a waste. Cheap cannot be taken in vain. Well, I believe in Miss Chenying. Chen picked up the wine glass and said with a small sip. Miss Chenying, what are you doing sitting so far away that we can't hear anything? Chen said to Heyu Chenying. The bar is not a quiet izakaya. The music is playing here. If you don't get close, you really can't hear it. But Chen said that he couldn't hear the voice, which is really pure nonsense. Heyu Chenying hesitated for a moment, then approached Chen too firmly. Chapter 912. Heyu Chenying, Sister Chenying, take the liberty to ask, how old are you? Chen asked Heyu Chenying. Don't you know that a woman's age is a taboo? Kuroba Chenkage said with a chuckle. It won't be Mrs. Age. So I'm embarrassed to say it. Chen had a smile on his face, a teasing smile. Kuroba Chikage's face darkened. Did you say such a thing? Kuroba Chikage was holding back a bottle of wine. The thought that hit Chen's face was, I'm 26 this year. 26 3 inches. Chen looked at Heyu Chenying with contempt. Although he only looked at the appearance, Heyu Chenying said that even if he was 22, there were people who believed him. But Chen knows her details. This is probably at least 10 years old. What? Don't you believe it? 5 or 8 fog, __. I really don't believe it. It looks like you. There should be 36, right? Chen looked up and down Heyu Chenying a glance, then said. Kuroba Chikage was a little annoyed, but it was true, she was indeed 36 years old. But how did he know? Did he really see it? Kuroba Chikage couldn't help touching his face. Did he look old? That's right, 36 was considered old in Kuroba Chenying's eyes. Kuroba Chikage was depressed and did not want to speak, so she picked up a glass of wine. Drink it on your own. Come, drink with me. Kuroba Chenkage took the bottle and poured another glass. Kuroba Chikage thinks that she has a good amount of alcohol, so she wants to get Chen drunk. Want to set something in Chen's here. I don't know how Kato knew. This man knows the truth about Akatsuki's death. Kuroba Chikage whispered to himself. In fact, Chikage Kuroha also asked Kuroba Kato, but Kuroba Kato didn't say anything. I've finished drinking, what about you? You can't drink my woman, right? Kuroba Chenying said provocatively towards Chen. Because. It was the first time that Kuroba Chikage was a little uncomfortable drinking this kind of alcohol with a high alcohol content. Yuhi's face turned pale, but she wasn't drunk, at least she wasn't drunk yet and she didn't think she would get drunk so easily. You drink like this, but it hurts your stomach. Chen seemed to remind him very kindly. Shout tilde, if it's not to hurt the stomach, what are you drinking for? Kuroba Chian leaned back and said after being influenced. What you said makes sense. Chen picked up the wine glass. He and Kuroba Chikage will stay with him until the end. Kuroha Chikage has an idea in his heart. Chen also knows this, but she just drank it in the hospital. It's impossible to get Chen drunk. After drinking glass of white wine, the wine bottles increased one by one, and Kuroba Chenying's whole body leaned on Chen's body. This time it was not her intention, she really couldn't hold it anymore. Forget it. Still don't drink. I must drink you down. Heyu Chenying couldn't even tell what she said. She drank too much. It's really hard to feel the feeling of wanting ye but ye can't come out. It's like dying, but even so. Heyu Chenying is still insisting Chen didn't know what Heyu Chenying was thinking. But since she had this interest, Chen naturally accompanied her. Half an hour passed quickly. Do you still want to drink? Chen asked Heyu Chenying. Although it was an inquiry, Chen also knew that Heyu Chenying would definitely not be able to drink it. Drink, continue, I haven't drunk you yet. Check out. Chen called the waiter over, swiped the card directly to check out, and then left here with Chikage Kuroba, who didn't know the south, east, west, and west. If you drink again, this woman is really going to be admitted to the hospital. Chen brought Chikage Kuroha to the hotel. Otherwise, where else can I go? I can't take Kuroba Chenying home. If I take her back, I will definitely be misunderstood. I don't know how to do it. After all, she is a beautiful woman, so how can you throw her away? Tisk tisk, I really don't know if you are stupid or stupid, and you dare to get drunk with strangers. Chen put down Heyu Chenying and said suddenly. Heyu Chenying sat up. Chen, who was going to open high, saw that Heyu Chenying did not leave, and was speechless all night. The next morning, Kuroba Chenying woke up with a headache. In fact, it was more than just a headache. Kuroba Chenying had no strength and physical strength, as if it had disappeared. Chikage Kuroba opened her eyes. Her eyes were a little dull, and all the pictures from yesterday flashed in her mind. Actually last night, Heyu Chenying had already woken up. Thinking of what happened in the sky, Heyu Chenying's expression was a little painful. Originally, I just wanted to get some information, but now the information has not been obtained, but I have paid for it myself. This should be the real loss. Now she wants to call herself stupid. Why did she turn her head so stupidly? Kuroba Chikage looked at Hyuga Chen with a very complicated look in her eyes. There is hatred, resentment, and a special emotion. But she doesn't seem to have the right to hate. Yesterday, after she woke up later, she didn't resist. If you want to hate, I'm afraid you have to hate yourself too. Yo, are you awake? Chen opened his eyes. He looked at Chikage Kuroba with a smile. After Chen opened her eyes, Heyu Chenying's eyes slammed. Her palm turned into a knife, and then the hand knife hit Chen. The attack is Chen's neck. This is the weak part of the human brain. With her strength, killing is definitely not impossible in the face of Kuroha Chikage's attack. Chen didn't resist, just quietly watching Kuroba Chikage's attack. However, when the Black Feather King's shadow waved his knife to Chen's neck, suddenly stopped. A blow with all the strength. Originally, he wanted to kill Chen in anger, but at the last moment, he couldn't do it. Heyu Chenying didn't know why she didn't take 2.8, but at the moment when she was about to hit Zongchen, she really stopped, and then found that she couldn't take it at all, as if she didn't want to kill this person generally. This discovery made Heyu Chenying's heart even more complicated, and her expression was very dazed. Kuroba Chikage is a very strong woman, but she shed tears at this time. Chen looked at the crying Black Feather Chenying and he didn't know how to comfort him. In fact, he could just leave yesterday. Then it will never happen, but Chen is not a good person. He is not anything. Let's talk about it. Heyu Chenying deliberately came to him. Chen also knew that, and in his heart, he wanted to make Heyu Chenying pay some price. Chapter 913. Hyuga Chen and Kuroba Chikage looked at each other, and Kuroha Chikage looked at him angrily, with a sullen look in his eyes. Heyu Chenying wanted to do it, but the opportunity was right in front of her, but at this time she did choose to give up. Why don't you do it? Chen had a faint smile on his face, and I have to say that this time with Heyu Chenying is really worth the aftertaste. Kuroba Chenying didn't say a word. She couldn't describe the feeling in her heart at this time. Her eyes were a little confused. Chen got up, put on his clothes, and took out a silver card. The password for this silver card is 6 2s. I don't even remember how much it has. It's just compensation for you. Chen put the silver card on the table and said to the confused Black Feather Chikage, slowly regaining her senses. She immediately became angry, anger rising from the top of her head. Is she taking her as someone? Is she taking her as a street girl on the side of the road? Just give me some stinky money. At this moment, Kuroba Chikage regrets very much. When he was only 17 years old, why didn't he directly start and kill this abominable bastard? That's right. If Miss Chenying is lonely in the future, you can contact me. I'll be happy to help, but then I'll collect the money. Chen's face wore a hateful smile. Black feather cheekage bursts into Yuhi for a while, and the angry look wants to eat Chen. Chen ignored Kuroba Chenying's angry eyes, and then left here in a dashing manner. Only Kuroha Chenying lying on Simmons was angry. This damn bastard, I didn't even leave a contact information, how can I contact you? Ba tilde, contact the fart, Kuroba Cheekage is going to kill this bastard, and after Hyuga Chen walked out, he touched his nose and said softly, I seem to have become a ruthless scumbag. It is estimated that Kuroha Cheekage hates killing him now. Indeed, Kuroba Cheekage's hatred of Hyuga Chen had reached its peak now. She never thought that she would hate someone so much. If Chen is still in front of her now, even if he bites, Kuroba Cheekage will bite him to death. Bastard, I won't give up, I'll make you pay the price. The woman with hatred in her heart is very scary. The current black feather Cheekage is very scary. Taken away my virginity. So easy is like getting out, not so easy. It would be cheap for him to die, and Heyu Chenying would make him suffer for the rest of his life. Kuroha Cheekage began to plan in her heart. How to get revenge on this abominable scumbag. I don't know what Heyu Chenying planned to get revenge on him. Now that he has returned home and saw Xiao Ai at home, Chen was stunned for a moment, and then asked strangely, Xiao Ai, why didn't you go to school? Today is the weekend. Where did you go yesterday? Xiao Ai asked Chen with a scrutiny. Suddenly, Xiao Ai's sensitive nose smelled a fragrance, which belonged to a woman. Did you hang out with a woman last night? Xiao Ai looked at Chen with cold eyes, as if her wife had caught her cheating husband. What a fool, what is it that sounds so ugly? Chen waved his hand and said. When you say that, it means that you admit 9. Xiao Ai's heart was full of resentment, and she had the urge to take a kitchen knife and chop up Chen. Chen didn't know that Xiao Ai's heart was so irritable. It does have a different scent. Seeing Ermad approaching Chen's side, she also smelled this scent, and a feeling of dissatisfaction arose in her heart. Tisk tisk tilde, Kudo Yukiko tutted twice, and then looked at Chen with a scumbag. At the same time, I thought of Chen going out and fooling around. She was also a little unhappy in her heart. No, this guy Hyuga-chan went out to fool around. What does it have to do with her? The girls didn't seem to give Hyuga-chan a good face, even the gentle Akemi was stern. Who is that woman fooling around with you? Belmod asked Chen angrily. Kuroba Cheekage, I don't know if you know 2 inches. Chen suddenly gave Belmod and Yukiko Kudo a strange look. Belmod and Kudo Yukiko have learned disguise with Kuroba Ruichi, so Kuroba Ruichi should be their teacher. Isn't Kuroba Cheekage their teacher? After hearing who Chen said, Belmod and Yukiko Kudo stared at each other. What do you mean Kuroba Cheekage? Kudo Yukiko stood up suddenly and looked at Chen in surprise. Belmod was surprised, but did not show it. Who is Heyu Chenying? Xiao Ai's eyes flashed with cold light. Yukiko sat down, although she hoped that it was just the same name. But her intuition told her that the Haya Chenying that Chen was talking about was the black feather Chenying she knew. It's just that Kuroha Cheekage is not too different in age from her, but she can be regarded as her good mother. Hyuga Chen and her mother-in-law got together. To Yukiko's heart is a bit awkward. What is the situation? According to her understanding, Kuroba Cheekage should not be the kind of person who would cheat, even if Kuroba Pirate, one has been dead for 8 years. Nor will it do so. Besides, he was still hanging out with Hyuga Chen, so he really knows how to eat young grass. Yukiko thought with an unhappy heart. How did you meet? Belmod asked Chen. Of course we met in a bar. Knowing 9 in a bar, Yukiko immediately thought of having sex after drinking. Could it be because of being drunk? Did you just get one piece? On the other hand, Kuroba Cheekage has recovered, but her body is still a little sore, and her face is wet. Yuhi. But the current black feather Cheekage. She is much more beautiful than before, and her skin has become more radiant. At this time, Kuroha Cheekage was investigating Chen's information on the internet. As a former phantom thief lady, she is also an excellent black. Although there is not much information found, but Kuroha Cheekage has also successfully found Chen's phone number and address. This is also Chen before leaving. The reason for not giving Kuroha Chikage's contact information is because Chen knows that with Kuroha Chikage's ability, he can definitely investigate. I am studying at Deaton High School. I often miss classes, and I suspect that I like a girl named Maulilan. Kuroha Chikage looked at the messages. A cold light flashed in his eyes, but after seeing Maulilan's photo, Kuroha Chikage couldn't help but be stunned for a while. How is this Morilan so similar to Nakamori Aoko? The similarity between the two is as high as 10% or more. They are simply twins, but these are not what Kuroha Chikage should pay attention to for the time being. What she cared about was that bastard Hyuga-chen, but she swore it. Make sure to make Hyuga-chen pay. As for how to make him pay for it, certainly not directly kill him. Kuroha Chikage felt that killing him would definitely be cheaper for him. Of course, mainly because Kuroha Chikage didn't want to kill him at all in his heart. Maybe Kuroha Chikage didn't feel it herself. Chapter 914. The game hall took the initiative to ask to come out, or come to this kind of game. After Chen and Xiaoai walked into the game room, Chen said softly, "If you don't want to accompany me, then go back." Xiaoai glanced at him coldly, as if she was still angry. Because she didn't return home the day before yesterday and night. She also got into trouble with 2 women. Xiaoai has been sulking for 2 days. Not even he. I know why I'm angry. What do you want to play with? Chen asked Xiaoai after exchanging the game currency. This game Animation City is relatively large and basically has all kinds of things, even not far from the side. Still they're holding a small comic exhibition. Xiaoai looked around, and then chose an arcade fighting game. Chen didn't expect Xiaoai to choose this kind of game. I didn't expect Xiaoai to like this arcade fighting game. Chen sat next to Xiaoai and said. She snorted softly, and didn't look at Chen. She chose characters for herself. After a few minutes, Xiaoai stood up from her seat coldly. The 3 characters she controlled had already passed. All the characters controlled by Chen were killed. Oh, sorry, I should have let you go. Chen shrugged with a smile on his face. Xiaoai looked at Chen lightly. Why didn't he see that you wanted to let me go? And Xiaoai didn't want to be let go by Chen. This is not fun. Let's change to a new one that originally wanted to discuss this arcade fighting game. Beating Chen, done with a sigh of relief. However, because Xiaoai has never been in contact with arcade games, she is naturally not an opponent. In fact, Chen rarely plays arcade games. But it's still okay to abuse Kai. Obviously Xiaoai is Kai. There is a virtual combat game console here. Do you want to try it? Chen pointed to a game console not far away. Virtual combat game consoles. This kind of thing is too advanced in this era. But this world is not normal, so it is not surprising. If you are attacked here, you will also feel some numbness in the place where you were beaten. Do you want to try? -19 inches children are not allowed to play. Xiaoai pointed at the sign next to it, and children are not allowed to play this kind of game at all. Although Xiaoai is not actually a child, she looks like a child now. That's a pity. Chen took Xiaoai to other places, and immediately walked over to see the instrument with a photo too. Chen hugged Xiaoai. Xiaoai did not refuse. It's actually pretty good for 2 people to shoot 2 head posts. Chen heard a familiar shout just after Bobao's photo was posted. It was Sonoko's voice. Yuanzi and Shaolin. Chen looked at Yuanzi and Shaolin who came to his side and was surprised. As for Conan, who was following him, Chen ignored them. You guys have come to the game hall. Yeah, we're here to find you. Yuanzi nodded. She and Shaolin came here on purpose to find Chen. And Conan heard that Shaolin was looking for Chen, so he followed him shamelessly. As for Yuanzi and Shaolin, why did they know that he was in the game hall? Of course, this is what Chen told them. Originally, Shaolin and Yuanzi wanted to invite Chen out to play, but Chen refused and approached them to accompany Xiaoai to the game hall to play, so they came to the game hall to find Chen and even ran to the game hall several times. When Xiaoai saw the 2 of them, she was obviously a little dissatisfied in her heart. Soft, look, is that teacher Judy over there? Yuanzi patted Chen's shoulder. Immediately said to Chen. Chen's eyes looked over. It was really Judy. Did you come here to play games? Chen and the others looked at Judy. The keen Judy. At this time, Minkun also noticed the eyes of Chen and the others, and looked towards Chen and the others. HMPH, I met another woman. Xiao Ai gently kicked Chen. Conan glanced at Xiao Ai strangely. This Haiyuan classmate, shouldn't he like this guy Hyuga Chen? What are you looking at? Xiao Ai gave Conan a cold look. It made Conan shudder, and his body seemed to be frozen. Conan couldn't believe that such indifferent eyes were actually sent by Xiao Ai. High approximately 1 inch Judy put down the gun in her hand. They walked towards Chen. So you guys came to the arcade too? Judy said in some soft Japanese. Mr. Judy, you actually come here to play games. Sonoko looked at teacher Judy a little weird. Well, I like playing games very much. I came to Shang from China because I wanted to play the games here. Shaolin and Yuanzi believed her words, and even Conan had no doubts, but thought the teacher was a game mad. But Chen didn't believe a word of her, but he was very clear about the purpose of Judy's coming here. Maybe Judy she really likes to play games. But she didn't come to Shang for the sake of, classmate 1 Hyuga, I haven't seen you in school for a long time. Judy put her eyes on Chen. Now Zhu Lei is still investigating Chen, but she has found nothing. I am sorry teacher Judy, because I have to be busy with some things, so I didn't go to school. Really I'm sorry to miss teacher Judy. Chen started talking nonsense with his eyes open, but now he has nothing to do. Really, I hope that Hyuga can finish sooner. Otherwise, your class will fall behind, and the teacher doesn't want you to fail the university entrance exam in the future. Judy said with great concern. Right, you should be. First come here for the second time. Teacher Judy nodded to Chenta Yuanzi and Shaolin, they were indeed. The first time I came here, of course Chen and Xiaoyuan also. First time here. As for Conan, let's ignore him for now. Conan feels like a superfluous person anyway. I'm very familiar with this place, let me play with you. Judy is quite familiar with this place. This is a doll machine, you have seen it in the mall, do you want to play with it? Judy pointed to the doll machine and asked. Doll machine, I like to play the most. I'm very good at catching dolls. Sonoko said very honestly. Straight, I don't believe it. Chen looked at Sonoko suspiciously. It seems that you won't believe me if I don't show you a show. Look at me. Sonoko walked over with a handful of game coins. Immediately after the coin was put in, the baby was caught. However, the doll here is not easy to catch, and it is impossible to catch it at all. The doll machines here are different from those in the shopping mall, and they are much more difficult to grasp than the doll machines in the shopping mall. Yuanzi tried more than a dozen times, but couldn't catch a doll, and suddenly felt a little ditched. Chapter 915. Offline PK, I don't want to play anymore, it's boring. Seeing that he hadn't caught the doll for a long time, Yuanzi immediately waved his hand. It's impossible for this doll machine to catch the doll. Xiaolan, you are lucky, do you want to try it? Yuanzi looked at Xiaolan. Xiaolan is the goddess of luck, and there is absolutely no one who surpasses Xiaolan in terms of luck. This thing doesn't seem to be a matter of luck, it also requires skills. Xiaolan said. Come on, try it and you'll know when I want that little bear. Xiaolan, please help me catch it. Yuanzi said, holding Xiaolan's hand. Okay, but I'm not sure, I can catch that little guy. Xiaolan put in 2 game coins. Controlling the joystick, in fact, playing this luck is also very important. No, Xiaolan successfully caught a little puppet. But this little puppet is not a bear, but a cute little penguin. Xiaolan, you are really amazing. Xiao Ai, try it too. Yuanzi looked at Xiao Ai who was standing next to Chen. Xiao Ai tried it in the past, but unfortunately she just caught it. Just fell down. It's boring. Xiao Ai pouted, this doll machine is so disrespectful. Cough cough. The real master is here. Tell me, what do you want? I can catch you at 480. Chen walked over and said. Really? Chen, you're not lying to us, are you? Sonoko didn't believe it, how difficult it is to catch the doll machine here. Sonoko, who has just used the soil at times, has a deep understanding. Of course not. Chen put in a few coins, and then directly grabbed the little bear that Yuanzi valued before. How's it going? Have you learned a lot now? What else do you want? Chen handed the bear to Yuanzi. And Yuanzi's eyes widened, and he actually caught it. Sonoko thought it was a joke. It's amazing. Sonoko couldn't help saying out loud. In Sonoko's eyes, L was really amazing. Can you help the teacher catch one too? Judy said to Chen. Chen glanced at Judy, then smiled slightly, and grabbed a puppet again, and then Chen also grabbed one for Xiaoai. Xiaoai, this cute little pig is for you. It looks so cute like you. Chen said with a smile. L, Xiaoai snorted coldly. Her expression was a little bad, as if she was angry. No, it seems that he was angry and raised his foot and stepped on Chen's foot. The virtual combat game machine here. You or HDH allow to play. Judy took Chen and the others to the virtual game console. Before, Chen and Xiaoai had seen it, and they were most not interested in this. Xiaoai was not interested, and children were forbidden to play. Because of the manipulation, if the character of 2 is attacked, it will also have a numb feeling, so children are not allowed to play. OSA, this game console. Xiaolan, sit down and try it. Judy pushed Xiaolan. Let Xiaolan sit down and try it. After Xiaolan sat down, her hands and feet were immediately tied. This is... Xiaolan suddenly panicked. Don't panic, see that character on the screen. Wave it. Start with the right hand. Judy instructed Xiaolan. Xiaolan rarely plays games, is it really okay? Sonoko looked at Xiaolan and said. Chen said with a light smile. Xiaolan, the characters in it are going to attack. Sonoko reminded Xiaolan. Xiaolan is still confused because he doesn't know how to play. The strong man has already been punched. The character controlled by Xiaolan was punched, and Xiaolan also felt the numbness on her face. Although it was not painful, it made her feel very uncomfortable. What's going on? Why is this happening? Xiaolan asked suspiciously. Xiaolan, this is the latest game console. If the characters are hit, you will feel it yourself. Judy explained to Xiaolan. But, how do I attack? Xiaolan asked in confusion. This is very simple, just wave your fists and feet. It's like fighting in real life. Judy explained to Xiaolan. Oh. Knowing how to fight, Xiaolan's eyes became sharp. She is a karate champion. She punched forward with a fist, then kicked her leg, continued to punch, and directly dropped the computer character inside to K0. Xiaolan, you are so amazing. Judy looked at Xiaolan in surprise. Of course, Xiaolan is the champion of the karate competition. Chen said with a smile. Xiaolan's combat power is definitely ranked in the entire Conan world. Of course, this is an unarmed battle without weapons. 2. Why did another character appear? Xiaolan looked at a character who appeared again, and couldn't help but be a little surprised. This is someone playing online battle with you. Chen glancing at the person behind Xiaolan. The character on the screen is obviously the character controlled by Xiaolan. Should I take up the fight? Xiaolan hesitated. Don't look at the computer she defeated before. Character. But she is still a rookie. If she encounters a master, I am afraid she will not be able to beat it. Although Xiaolan is very good at karate, she is playing a game and many moves cannot be used, and Yu is also not good at grasping it. The attack distance is high. I am sure about the challenge. Don't hesitate, Xiaolan, just take the fight directly. Sonoko shouted with interest. All right then. Xiaolan chose to fight, but this time Xiaolan lost. He still lost miserably. At this time, the person who chose to play online with Xiaolan stood up and walked towards this side. Okay, now that you have lost, then let the position go to you now. In using that golden throne, is my position. The man with yellow hair walked over and said, Damn, do you think this is your home? Why should we give up our place? Sonoko said with great dissatisfaction. Rookie like you are not worthy to play this kind of game. Wang Mao said disdainfully. Yo, you seem to be very powerful. Do you want us to come to PB? Chen's mouth showed a sneer. HMPH, it seems that you don't know my name. Well, if you lose, you flow quickly. As soon as this guy finished speaking, Tatsu slapped the man in the face, directly knocking the guy to the ground. The man who was slapped was a little dizzy, and it took a while to recover, and Kingo Oto stood up. He got up and looked at Chen angrily. Sorry, the PK I mentioned earlier was offline PK. Chen said lightly, would you like to try again? Kingo Oto is a tyrant here, how could he swallow this breath? He rushed towards Chen, but was knocked down by Chen's feet in an instant. Pain made him unable to climb up. Chen, it's okay, we don't want this position anymore. Xiaolan said quickly, hitting someone is wrong, if the other party calls the police, it will be troublesome. Chapter 916. Kingo Oto, damn it. Kingo Oto was beaten, but he could only swallow it. As for calling the police, I'm sorry, he's a loafing punk himself. There is a criminal record in the Metropolitan Police Department. So calling the police is absolutely impossible. And if you fight, it's not the opponent's opponent. It can only be a confession. Chen and the others left here to see other game facilities. Why is Shaolin a karate champion, but still can't beat that guy? Sonoko said with some dissatisfaction. A game is always a game, even if it's simulating one's own attacks, but it's just a game. Don't you see the button on the controller you're holding? Through that button, it can be combined into different moves, beginners. In reality, no matter how good you are, you may not be able to beat a veteran. Chen said to them, Chen is very insightful, I have played this before. Judy nodded and said, so that's the way it is. With this thing, Shaolin's strength can't be brought into play. Sonoko said depressedly, just play a game, if you lose, you don't need to be so serious. Shaolin said to Yuanzi amusingly, although it's a game, but I also care about winning or losing. If I can win, of course I don't want to lose. This game is not suitable for you. Let's play this game of fishing. Chen brought Shaolin and the others to another place. Aside, who said that? I am very talented in the game. If you don't believe it, let's try it. I promise to beat you. Sonoko said confidently. Okay, you're amazing. Chen and Shaolin didn't believe it at all. Seeing their disbelief, Sonoko was really depressed. What is that big screen for? Shaolin asked strangely. You mean it's two screen? It's used to show the pictures of the battle. Especially the fighting type, such as your previous battle with that guy. Judy said to Xiaolan. Doesn't that mean that Shaolin's fiasco has been seen? Yuanzi shouted. Yuanzi, don't be so loud, okay. Shaolin said to Yuanzi, but if it wasn't so loud, I wouldn't be able to hear it here. Sonoko said aloud, indeed, because the voice here is so loud that I want to speak. It has to be a little too loud. Hey, someone is going to fight on the screen, who is it? Shaolin saw the picture of Muli on the big screen, and it turned into a battle picture. It's the two of them fighting. A fat man came over and pointed to two people sitting not far away. One of these two people is Kingo Oto before, and the other is the home of some handsome guys. The guy you beat up before is called Kenzai Oto, and Guy Sate, who is known as Mi Waj, is actually a little bastard, but he is indeed very powerful. The fat man. To be honest, everyone in the game hall was very happy when the original player beat Kenzai Oto just now. This guy is arrogant here. Already, to the point of being unbearable. What about the other one? Can that person defeat that hateful guy? Sonoko asked Zhang Shumensi. Zhang Shumensi was this fat man. Beihu Lucas, who claims to be undefeated. If there is anyone who can defeat this bastard, he is the only one. Zhang Shumensi said. Wow, then this will be a very fierce battle. Judy said with interest and anticipation. It's a very exciting battle. Many people are here. They are watching this battle, and they want to know who will win. Zhang Shumensi nodded. Of course. Most of the people here want to see it. Kingo Oto was defeated. Let's play a racing game. Chen is not interested in watching fighting games like this for children. It's not interesting at all. Chen came to the seat of the racing game and sat down. Just after Chen sat down, Judy also did it. Would you like to stay with me? You play this game. If you lose, promise the opponent a condition. What do you think? Judy asked Chen. Okay, I have no opinion. Chen nodded lightly. Seeing Chen agreed, Che-di showed a confident smile on her face. She is very familiar with the games here. On the contrary, she was with Shaolin and the others before. Knowing that Chen is still. It was the first time, so Judy was sure of winning. She was very good at driving. It's about to start, Chen said after starting the game and saw the words, starting the game. Judy looked at it, and then said, how about we compare the distance of the test run? Flowers. Don't, it's a waste of time, my time is very precious, so let's see who crosses the finish line first. Chen said with a wave of his hand. That's fine. Anyway, no matter which competition it is, Judy absolutely believes it. She is impossible to lose. After Chen and the others ended, of course Chen won, leaving Judy's car far behind. Damn it. Again, I don't believe I won't win. Judy angrily asked to come again. No, it's boring, remember that you owe me a condition now. Chen waved his hand, and didn't mean to play again. Are you afraid of losing? Are you afraid that if you try again, you will lose to me? Judy asked Chen. You have to figure out, the one who loses now is you are not qualified to say this. Chen said with a smile. Chen, it seems that something happened. Shaolin shouted to Chen. Something happened. What happened? Someone died. Shaolin looked at Chen in surprise, and actually guessed right, someone died. The guy you beaten up before. Now dead. Xiao-I looked at Chen and said. Dead. Chen's reaction was quite dull. Dead people are also normal. In the world of Conan, undead people are the most abnormal. What's more, there is a guy like Conan, although he has always given Conan to him. I ignored it. But Conan, the god of death, is here. It seems that Kengo Oto has been favored by the god of death. Did this guy suddenly die while playing games? Some people whispered. Obviously there are many people who are dissatisfied with Oto Kengo. Conan is beside the corpse, watching Oto Kengo's corpse for examination, looking to find the cause of Oto Kenzai's death. Although it is said that it was sudden death, however, Conan does not believe that this is just a simple sudden death. Kengo Oto was in good condition before. It is impossible to die suddenly. There may be other reasons for this. It's better to call the police first. Chen said to Shaolin. Yes, call the police. Shaolin immediately took out her mobile phone and started to call the police. Soon, the police officer Yimu came here. The speed of the police is really top-notch. Maybe it's because of the frequent occurrence of cases. Chapter 117. Become a suspect. Are you sure? He died while playing games. Officer Yuge asked. Well, he died suddenly while he was playing the game. The game is not over yet. Shaolin pointed to the screen. Now the game on the screen tomb is still locked on the page that ends at the last time. We all saw it on the big screen during the duel. When he was about to win, the character suddenly stopped moving, and then we found out. Shaolin's moonlight looked at Kengo Oto's body. Next, did you find that he was dead? And the tomb police officer touched his chin. If you say that, it was an accident. Did he die playing a game? The deceased is called Oto. Shanwu, 21 years old this year, has no job before. Most people say that he has bad behavior, usually in this 470 inches game center. Everyone has a bad opinion of him. Takagi told all the things he had investigated since to the police officer of the Tomb of the Moon. It turned out to be so, that is to say. It means that it may not be a sudden death, but a murder, and the Tomb police officer's eyes are sharp at the people around. After seeing the sharp eyes of Officer Yimu, those people avoided them one after another. It seems that the eyes of Officer Kimu are very scared. After all, Officer Mumu is looking for a suspect. What if they are accidentally treated as a suspect? They don't want to ask for trouble. That's right. How could he dress like this, as if he's in a science fiction movie? Officer Chiguru looked at Kengo Oto, who was wearing a helmet now, and asked the people around him. This is a virtual combat game console that only needs to participate in the game. Players, when the characters in the screen game are attacked, they will also receive the same damage at the same time. The staff here, Dehima explained to the police officer Kimu. When the game character is attacked, he will also be injured. Could it be that the cause of his death was the reason for his severe injuries? No, no, no. At this moment, another voice came. Police officer, this kind of thing is absolutely impossible. The player will be hit, but it's only a slight vibration, just like the vibration of a mobile phone. You should have never heard of a phone shock. Who are you? ? Quote. Officer Chi-Mu asked the person who had actually interjected. I was the one who fought against this guy before he burped. I don't want to be treated as a murderer because of this incident. Shui Gaobao said lightly. This person needs to be beaten when he talks. Chen said beside him. Yeah, same as you. Xiao Ai raised her head and answered Chen. Chen looked down at Xiao Ai, expressing that he did not have the same knowledge as a child. Speaking of which, I was beaten badly. During the whole process, I only attacked him 2 or 3 times. Shisui Kobo said, taking out the gum from his mouth. Other times, I only have chewing gum, so I get angry when I talk about it. Is that so? Police Officer Yimu asked Xiaolan compared to this person. Besides, Officer Mu still believed what Xiaolan said. Indeed, this gentleman has been suppressed during the battle. Xiaolan nodded. Shisui Gaobao, don't you claim to be Lucas of the Cup? How come you were beaten so badly that you can't even fight back? It's not that the water was released on purpose, or there are other reasons. Chen glanced at Zishui Gaobao and said. A drop of cold sweat broke out on Zishui Gaobao's forehead, but after seeing that it was Chen who spoke out, he immediately sneered. HMPH, I think you are the murderer. Although I haven't arrived before, I also said that someone beat this guy. Is that person you? The tomb police officer heard the words and immediately looked at Chen. Officer Yimu, although Chen beat the man, it is absolutely impossible to beat him to death, and when he died, Chen was still playing the game of Jiche. When Chen was still calm and did not speak, Xiaolan immediately allowed to help Chen defense Cone explain. That was really a collision with the deceased. And the tomb police officer looked at Chen, and now Chen is also a suspect. Chen shrugged, and didn't mean to justify anything. Anyway, he didn't kill him. He didn't panic at all. Even if he really killed it. Chen didn't panic at all. The deceased seems to have died from breathing. Could it be because of poisoning? Conan, who had been silent at this time, suddenly said, Conan, why are you over there? Xiaolan saw Conan running to the corpse again. Next to him, he shouted to Conan involuntarily. Seeing Xiaolan's expression a little angry, Conan quickly walked away from the corpse. And Judy, looking straight at Conan, this little boy, is not afraid of dead bodies at all, and actually sees the death of the dead because others may not pay attention, but how could Judy not notice? At this time, Conan has successfully attracted Judy's attention, but Conan himself doesn't know it yet. What Conan didn't know was that some of his behaviors were really obvious in the eyes of others, especially those who cared. Too conspicuous. The deceased was dropped, so it shouldn't be poisoned. Officer Mumu said with a glance at the deceased's body. There are witnesses to prove that before the deceased died, he didn't eat anything. He didn't drink anything, so it couldn't be poisoned. But Toon police officer, what if the murderer used a needle and syringe to poison the deceased? ? Conan said reluctantly. This is even more impossible. If someone really used a needle and syringe, then the deceased would definitely shout. Someone else would definitely find out. Officer Mu still insisted on his opinion, believing that the deceased did not die of poisoning of. Officer Kiamu, the voice here is very loud, even if you really shout, you may not be able to hear it. Is that so? Officer Kiamu has never been to the game hall, so he doesn't know. Well, here's the it's really loud, and the light is very dark. Takagi 3.8 nodded. In the game hall, the light must not be too good. Otherwise, the screen is reflective, which affects gaming. Then send this corpse to the Ministry of Justice for autopsy first, and then determine the real cause of death. Officer Mumu thought about it, and then said seriously. If this is the case, it is really possible that he died of poisoning. Let's make sure first. However, during this period, I would like to ask you to cooperate, please, don't leave here. Officer Kimu said to the people here. Because if Kengo Oto really died of poisoning, there must be a murderer, so these people must not be allowed to open high, because the murderer may be among them. These people want to complain though. But it didn't leave, the words to leave. What should I do if I'm treated as a suspect? So I can't leave. Chapter 918. Watch the video. Now let's filter out the people involved. The Tomb of the Moon police officer said while looking at the crowd. All of a sudden, everyone became nervous. Although it wasn't them, it was impossible not to be nervous inside. If they were really suspected by the police, it would be hard to tell how many they were. Officer Moongrave, there are more than 30 people here. It's not easy to find them. Takagi looked at the crowd with a little embarrassment. There are no clues in the first place, and then it is too difficult to find the person suspected of murder from among these people. Hey, I still don't know how he died. Who knows if he died suddenly? Zishui Gaobao said while chewing gum. Inspector Mew glanced at him, although a little uncomfortable with his attitude. However, what he said is indeed the truth, and the cause of Odo Kingo's death has not yet been truly determined. Now we still need to wait for the inspection results to come out before we can really be sure. However, Conan has all been confirmed at this time, and the deceased must have been killed. The murderer is among them. And Tomb police officer, I know there are 17 people around this dead uncle. Conan said to police officer Yimu. Officer Chi Mu had a surprise in his eyes. Because, Sister Xiaolan and I before this person died, we were on the game console next to him. Watching Mr. Judy and Mr. Sun. Brother racing. I watched it for a while. Right. Conan turned his head and looked at Xiaolan. Well, that's true, so Chen is not the murderer. He was playing games with teacher Judy. Xiaolan nodded immediately and said to the police officer Chi Tum. She hasn't forgotten that Chen is still a suspect, so she quickly finds a chance to explain it to Chen. Hearing that, Conan was a little jealous, and glanced at Chen next to him unhappily. With jealousy in his eyes, Chen completely ignored Conan, the little brat, and looked at Xiaolan with gentle eyes. Being stared at by Chen's eyes, Xiaolan was a little embarrassed and lowered her head with a Yuhi expression on her face. He asked in a low voice, Chen, what are you looking at? Of course you are looking at the beautiful and kind Xiaolan, thank you Xiaolan. Chen raised his hand, rubbed it on Xiaolan's head, and gave Xiaolan remember to touch the head to kill. Xiao Ai, who was jealous, snorted coldly and stepped on Chen so hard that Chen was quite speechless to Xiao Ai. This little Queen Tsunere, who was so easily jealous, was now jealous again. Even so, Chen, your suspicions can't completely disappear. After all, before the deceased was alive, he had a sudden shock with him. Officer Chi Mu said with a light cough. The other police officers stared at Chen with unhappy Qiguang, wishing in their hearts that this guy murdered and then arrested him because they knew that this bastard and their goddess were unclear. And the other girls are still so amused. Just scumbag. These people are envious. Anger again. I really thought that Chen had done something, and then took him in a, why does this policeman look like he was going to eat you? Did you do something? Xiao Ai kicked Chen and asked Chen. How do I know? Chen spread his hands innocently, but he never offended these police officers. Chen didn't know what the anger of the defeat was. This group of people was a group of defeated dogs. Conan, tell me, who is the closest to the dead? Officer Kiamu crouched down and asked Conan. The eldest brother of the waiter in that store over there, as well as this tall eldest brother, and the other 6 of us, there are 8 people in total. Conan pointed at the waiter, Jun Dehima. There is also Shimizu Takaho who played games with the dead Kingo Oto, and the rest of Tatsuya. Actually, you really don't need to be so troublesome. Just look at the monitor and you'll know who is closest to the tall deceased. Haven't you been paying attention? Chen Dian pointed to a monitor above, and there were monitors in it. Yes, don't you know the investigation, next? It's no wonder that the case can't be solved, this is really bad. And the tomb officer looked at the camera above and felt very embarrassed. He really forgot about this avatar. Then, can you please go and watch the video with me? The tomb police officer asked Chen and the others. I have no opinion. After all, if I have an opinion, wouldn't I be regarded as a murderer? Chen stretched his waist and said. Officer, since this is the case, can we leave now? It shouldn't be our business, right? Those people who were asked to stay here. No, although these people are the closest to the dead, it doesn't mean that others did not case. And the curtain police officer directly refused. If the real murderer, among them, let them go, wouldn't that allow the real murderer to escape the law? And after the tomb officer finished speaking, he looked at the staff member Dahima-jun. He is a staff member here. He needs to lead the way when watching the video. Well, you come with me. After going to turn on the surveillance, the tomb police officer led the police officers to watch, and Conan frowned. This surveillance video is obviously missing a section. Why is the section in which Hyuga-chen beat Kingo Oto missing? But this is not important, the police didn't care at all. Seeing Dahima squatting under the game console, Officer Kimu turned around and asked Dahima-kunma, Mr. Dahima, what are you doing? Oh, at that time I was charging money into the game console. The game currency. And 890 Officer Mu nodded, and then continued to watch the video. In the video, a man came to the deceased Kingo Oto, as if he was saying something to Kingo Oto. This should be Mr. Shisui Kobo, right? What are you talking to the deceased now? And the tomb police officer asked Shisui Kobo, I just want to find out what fighting strategy he wants to use before the battle, and in the end, a little bit it's useless. This person is lying. Xiao Ai glanced at Zishui Gaobao, and then said lightly. But Xiao Ai's voice was very small. Only Chen heard it. Well, what did you pick up on the ground? The tomb police officer looked at Zishui Gaobao in the video as if he lowered his head and picked up something. Oh, this is just a cigarette lighter. I was just checking the lighter. Officer Kimu glanced at Shisui Takao again, then continued to look down at the video. Officer Kimu, look, this is Mr. Dahima-jun. He seems to be holding something in his hand. This is a video recorder. I recorded the previous game. It was a wonderful game. Dahima said quickly. Isn't it a one-sided game? Where is such a wonderful game? Conan glanced at Dahima-jun and said. Dahima-jun's forehead suddenly sweated, and he became hesitant to speak, and his heart was already anxious. Chapter 119. Tiertazan and the tomb police officer looked at each other. He seemed very nervous. This person was very suspicious. Why are you so nervous? Officer Mumu asked Dahima-jun. Of course I'm nervous now. Looking at your appearance, it's like treating me as a prisoner. Can I not be nervous? Dahima said, wanting to cry without tears. Officer Chi-tum, look here. Another person appeared, and he came out behind the deceased. Takagishi hurriedly shouted to Officer Chi-mu. Officer Chi-mu came over immediately after hearing the words, and Guang stared closely at a fat uncle who came out behind the deceased. This person, isn't he the fat uncle who came to talk to us before? He also made comments about the deceased before. Xiaolan recognized it immediately after seeing it. Previous time, the uncle was also very dissatisfied with the deceased. He is called Zhang Minzi, a customer who often comes here. Dahima-jun said that Zhang Minzi was soon called over. Mr. Zhang Minzi, can you explain, what exactly is going on here? Officer Kimu asked Zhang Minzi. Zhang Minzi looked at the scene in the surveillance video and said very calmly. At that time, I was picking up a hard market of 100 yuan. I originally wanted to go to the vending machine in the corner to buy a cup of coffee. Who knows equals when I paid, the game coins suddenly fell on the ground, and then although I don't like that person, I still admire his skills in playing games. That's really nice to say. Last time you played a racing machine, Yuhi's ears were red when he sneered at him. How dare you say it? Zishui Gaobao said disdainfully. Is what you said true? Officer Kimu asked quickly. If that is the case, then this Zhang Shuman has a criminal motive. To kill. Zhang Shumansi said lightly. At that time, he said it very loudly, saying that if you don't want to reincarnate early, it is best not to take your taxi. 1. Shisui Gaobao continued. Zhang Shumansi is a taxi driver. This is a very hurtful word for him. Especially if everyone else heard it. Maybe Zhang Shumansi held a grudge because of it. And the tomb police officer identified Zhang Shumansi as the most suspicious person in an instant. Jiang Shumensi, with a calm face, said lightly, if you say that, you are more suspect than me, and you also have a motive for murder. After all, that guy is your precious sister's boyfriend after all. Jiang Shumensi broke the news. It's really exciting, I have a premonition that there will be a ripping battle. Chen said with interest, Student Hyuga, you are also a suspect of a crime, why are you so negotiated, aren't you afraid? Teacher Judy left. Come and say, Rondi-sensei, actually you are also suspect. Chen said with a chuckle. The people who appear here are all suspects. To be correct, Xiaoai and Conan are among the suspects. Odo Kengo and his old sister have just lived together recently, and the two of them have been together. The sky was like glue, but he was an older brother and a frequent visitor to the playground, so naturally he had no position to criticize her boyfriend. Speaking of motives, does this little brother have one too? Zhang Shouminzi looked at the waiter Ijima-jun. Didn't you want him to disappear sooner? Why is that? Takagi asked towards Zhang Shouminzi. He shouldn't be talking nonsense. This little brother, half a year ago, but a video game fan who is known as Mahua Ding Petra and a famous crane, disappeared for half a year after he was defeated by Odo Kengo. I didn't expect that after half a year, he changed his hairstyle and came to work in this playground. I couldn't believe it at first. Zhang Shumen's first-hand information. Let Chen be more interested. Now these three people have a criminal motive. Boom tilde. I remembered 2 knocks on the door, and then a policeman walked in. It was reported that the police officer at the Tomb of the Moon had indeed detected a poison cord in the body of the deceased. The deceased died from toxins. What? Then say. There is indeed a murderer, yes. What kind of toxin is it? Officer Mumu asked the police officer. If you know what kind of toxin it is, this may also be a clue, and you may be able to rely on this clue to find the murderer. This toxin is tetrodotoxin. The puncture site is on the inner side of the upper arm of the right hand. The needle pierces the arteries of the deceased. You're talking about tetrodotoxin. Officer Mu was surprised. Tetrodotoxin, commonly called IIX. 0.5 to 1 mg can be lethal. It only needs 15% of potassium cyanate to kill the poison. A deadly poison, usually found in the body of a puffer fish. The symptoms of poisoning through oral ingestion are relatively slow, and if it can be treated in time, it can usually be rescued. But on the other hand, if you inject it into a blood vessel, the nerve will be paralyzed in a short time, and you will die. Judy explained with a very professional knowledge. Mr. Judy, you know a lot, and you have not seen your Japanese poor after saying such a paragraph. Chen looked at Judy lightly and said that Judy's expression was stagnant, and then said with a smile, this is what a friend of mine told me, let me be careful to eat fugu in Japan, after all, it is also a delicacy. Judy's explanation made the others reluctantly convinced. However, others still have some doubts. Even if they really reminded them to pay attention, they wouldn't have reminded them in such detail. Chen, did you hear that? A sound, the sound of metal rubbing against the ground. Shaolin asked Chen. Let's go. Chen smiled slightly, then took Shaolin's hand and walked outside. Judy saw Chen holding Shaolin's hand. A light flashed in her eyes. What was the relationship between the two of them? They seemed very close. Li Jiao, are you a boyfriend or girlfriend? Xiaoai followed behind, looking at Chen with jealousy. Her resentment had risen to the top. And the tomb police officer and the others came outside. Let these suspects not open their mouths for the time being, and then started a carpet-like search to find the murder weapon. However, it took half an hour to find the needle-shaped murder weapon. Why not? Is this murder weapon already disposed of by the murderer? The tomb police officer looked at Dahima-jun and the others. Although the ability of the Yimu police officer is not very good, but it is still locked now. The murderer should be in the middle of Dahima-jun, Zhang Shou-minji, and Shisui Gaobao. But there is no evidence. I don't know who is the real murderer. Conan closed his eyes and pondered. He has actually guessed who the murderer is. The exact evidence is almost there. It's just that he needs more evidence now. Let the murderer indefensible hard evidence. Chapter 920. And, Officer Moongrave, do you think the murder weapon is still in the murderer's hands? Takagi asked towards Officer Mumu. Well, it's not impossible. Since the murder weapon was not found in the playground, it is very likely that it was in the murderer's hands. Ji Mu nodded. Now the murder weapon has either been disposed of or is still in the murderer's hands. Xiao Lan, I want to ask, has anyone here left? Kimu Police Palace asked Xiaolan. No, because such a big thing happened, they didn't go out. Xiaolan shook her head gently. That's it. The murder weapon may be in the murderer's hands. I demand that you be searched. Chimu police officer said seriously. There is no problem with the body search. Fully cooperate. When Odo died, I was playing a game with him. Even if I have the ability to reach the sky, there is no way to poison him to death. Shisui Takabao said. Even though the police officer Mu thought that this person could not be AP hand, he still insisted on searching him. I am the same as him on this point. I approached Oto the number of times. It was only when I used to collect game coins before they played against each other. Dahima-jun hurriedly said if you really want to do a body search, 723. It must be Mr. Zhang Shouminzi who was at the scene of the crime, picking up coins next to the game machine. Dahima-jun glanced at Zhang Shouminzi next to him and said. Also, he was next to the game console. The two of them playing a racing game. Dahima both pointed at Chen and Judy. Hey, don't talk nonsense. Chen and Judy were playing games at the time, and we were watching the whole process. Sonoko said angrily. Then you were also there, so you can't escape. This waiter, do you believe I made you a real murderer? Chen said with an indifferent look at him. There is no problem in getting rid of suspicion. But Chen is the most disgusted with this kind of person who likes to bite. Especially if you want to bite him. Seeing Chen's terrifying gaze, Dahima didn't dare to speak, and kept his mouth shut. That police officer, I will also express my opinion. Zhang Shouminzi said, the police officer said just now. The deceased was poisoned on the inside of his right arm, but I passed by the deceased Kengo Oto's left. Some are big, these people are the most suspicious people, but they are not like the murderer, so who is the murderer? Actually, the murderer is this guy. Chen stretched out his hand and pointed to Zishui next to him. And the tomb officer was stunned for a moment, while Zishui Gaobao looked at Chen angrily. Why do you call me the murderer? I think you are the murderer. You had a conflict with Kengo Oto before, and you beat him up. Haha, although it was a conflict. But if you want to kill him, you won't choose to do it here. Then why do you say he is the murderer? Gao Benchi asked Chen. I tell you, if there is no evidence, I will sue you for defamation. Zishui Gaobao said angrily. Chen, is he really the murderer? Shaolin asked Chen. If this person is not the murderer, then he can really sue Chen for slander. Of course. Mr. Zishui Gaobao, if you are not the murderer, why are you nervous? Chen asked indifferently towards Zishui Gaobao. When I just fought him. A lot of famous people saw it. At that time, he was pressing me to fight. I was in a hurry and I had time to kill. At that time, I was playing a game with him. Actually, you were before the game started. I have already killed Kengo Oto. Nonsense, why was I beaten by Kengo Oto when I was fighting? Are you trying to say Kengo Oto turned into a ghost and continued to play games with me? ? Shisui Kobao Taisheng retorted. Hehe, why do you say Oto Kengo is pressing you to fight, instead of you pressing Oto Kengo to fight? Chen asked lightly. The two of you, one is called Gai Satai, and you are called Kupu Lucas. Others will definitely think that you will choose the same role as Bei, but what if you switch roles? After Chen finished speaking, Kieguang, the tomb police officer, stared at Zishui Gaobao. This is very possible. And Shisui Gaobao also began to panic. Damn, he actually knows the murderer. Conan bit Kiba. When he was about to tell the murderer, he let this guy take the lead. This game is not marked at all. During the battle, there is no way to tell who is using which character. If it is interchanged, it will not be discovered. Dahima said to the police officer of the Tomb of the Moon. Where is the murder weapon? Zishui Gaobaojun calmed down, and then asked Chen. The waiter who called Dahima-jun, the real murder weapon is now under his feet. Huh, Dahima-jun heard the words and quickly looked at the soles of his feet. On Dahima-jun's feet, the murder weapon was indeed found. After the murder weapon, Zishui Gaobao panicked for a moment, and then immediately calmed down. You look very calm. Do you think that you can sit back and relax without your fingerprints on this murder weapon? Chen sneered. Chen knew that it is impossible to have Zishui Kobao's fingerprints on this murder weapon, because when Zishui Kobao commits a crime, it is absolutely impossible to leave fingerprints. However, although there are no fingerprints, it does not mean that Zishui Kobao is foolproof. You help the deceased Kengo Odo choose a character. Then naturally you have to put in coins. The game coins in this machine should have your fingerprints. Chen said lightly. What a joke, I have also used this machine before, and the game coins that I put into it before are gone. Zishui Gaobao smiled disdainfully. Have you forgotten? The game coins in this machine have been taken away before the battle. Now there are only 2 game coins in it. After hearing this, Zishui Gaobao's face froze for a moment. This is your bad luck. When you were just about to kill. It happened that Dahima cleared the game currency in the game machine. After turning on the game console and seeing 2 game coins inside, the police officer of the Tomb of the Moon looked at Zishui Gaobao. Now what else do you have to say? Hey Tilda, don't need to check your fingerprints, this game coin is indeed mine. I did kill that bastard but it was all because he was damned. Shimizu Koho's eyes suddenly blooded Yuhi. Shisui Gaobao wants to kill Odo Keno, and there is naturally a grudge in it, all because of his sister. However, Chen of the county body doesn't want to know at all, the murderer has been found. It's not too early, they should also leave. Thank you very much this time. Brother Chen. The tomb police officer thanked him. If there is no Chen, with the ability of the police officer of the Tomb of the Moon, the case can't be solved. Of course, even if Chen can't find the murderer, there is still Conan.